Traveling the Vortex.
Dogs bark and he knows their breed and knows where they went last night. Knows their masters too. Oh baby, hold me tight. Just pretend I'm Sherlock Holmes. Just pretend I'm Sherlock Holmes.
We've joined Sherlock Holmes as he investigates in Dartmoor, which happens to be where episode 225 takes place. I'm Keith.
I'm Shaun.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Good.
Is the hound chasing you?
Yes.
Phosphorescent painted hound.
You guys have a good week?
I had a good week.
I did have a good week.
Mine was
Shaun had
okay.
Shaun had a good weekend, which we'll talk about after a while.
You had a good week.
I did. I had a good weekend too. Yeah.
Weekend, because you were
Yeah,
off.
I was off this week, so I got some things watched this week, actually.
Oh.
Ooh, a list.
I noticed there's no DVDs of mine sitting
I haven't brought any yours back
in
yet.
the pile. So
I watched, first thing I watched on HBO Now this week was there's a 2-part Frank Sinatra documentary called Sinatra All or Nothing at All. And it's quite interesting. I know a lot about Sinatra anyway, so a lot of it was kind of recap for me, but there was...
you're kind of a fan.
Yeah, a little bit. There were some interesting pieces to it. It was framed around his farewell concert that he did in 1979, I believe it was, and he took and made a song list that he was going to perform that night. And what they did is they stepped through the documentary by using his song list, because his song list sort of in music told the story of his life. And so what they did for the documentary is they took each of those songs in order and built around not the meaning, but the song symbolized in his life. And it was pretty cool. It's pretty good. It's 2 parts, and they're both nearly 2 hours long. So it was 4 hours worth of it. I didn't watch them all in one day, but I took a couple days and did that. And then I finally watched Birdman.
What'd you think?
You didn't like it. I can tell it.
I'm not sure.
You can't even quite see his. You can't see his face,
I'm not
listeners.
sure
but
what the
there's a
heck
look
was.
on his face.
I'm not
Somebody get
sure
out
what
the
it was even really
periscope.
about, or what the message it was trying to convey. It's just
It's an interesting, I think, exploration of wanting to make sure your life has meaning and leaves a meaningful impression on people.
I'm glad you got that out of it.
That's what I got out of it. I had a more defined definition of what I had out of it back 2 months ago when I watched it.
The import of your own sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
Because he obviously had an impact on people as Birdman. But
it
he
wasn't
didn't
what
feel
he-
that was a legacy
That
worth
wasn't
having.
yeah.
And the struggle of, hey, look at me, I'm in a comic book movie versus being a serious actor, and that was obviously important.
Yeah, I got all that, but
Well, that's really all it was.
well, then that's unfortunate because it was kind of then there in that case. The ending was like, I'm not sure what happened at the end. All the time you think all of this is in his head. Spoilers.
Some of it.
All along you think this is all in his head, and then they sort of qualify it as maybe it wasn't. It was kind of weird.
Well, I kind of walked. I thought that at the end it wasn't, but then what he was able to do with the play ended up fulfilling what he was hoping for.
Well, I got that too.
And then that's kind of what the very, very end symbolized to me.
Yeah, I don't think he really...
Why'd she look up and smile?
Because
that was his imagination. After still there,
I think he achieved what he had set out to do and had reached a new height in her eyes. That she suddenly realized that this was this important to him, and that he is serious.
Here's
and
what
that,
I got out of the
that's-
movie.
I can now hold
The guy
my
was
dad up to
mentally
this.
messed up. That's what I got out of
yeah.
the movie. I mean, that's simply all it is. Even if it was an exploration of your self-worth,
and I think it was also
and your
leaving a legacy
popularity
for your
and
child, to some extent.
This all sounds reaching. That was probably the intent, but it was conveyed oddly.
Well, yeah, I'm not denying that at all. That's part of why I liked it, was that it was conveyed very oddly.
Superb acting, and I thought
Cinematography.
I love the fluid, continual movement and following all the actors through the entire thing. That was well done. I could see where the edits
So
were.
could I too, but I was also looking for them.
But I've been looking for that every time somebody does that type of thing since Hitchcock did Rope. Ever since that point, I've looked for where the edits were. You know?
Yeah.
But it's still cleverly done.
Oh, it is
That's what
clever.
I liked about it. It's,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
the
very
film,
much appreciated.
the
how
film
it's
snobs
done.
are going, oh, there was an edit, but it's like
Unless
but
you're
it was,
looking for those things,
Did
you
you just
don't
call
know
me a
they're
film
there.
snob?
Yeah, you're a film snob.
I would consider all of us here at the table film
Come
snobs
on.
to some
We could do a
level or
whole
I
other
don't know what you're
podcast
talking
called
about.
Film Snobs.
My film snobs days were over when I got spit on in a Burger King.
Learned your lesson, didn't
Learned
you?
my lesson. At least not to talk about it in L.A.
See, he just said he didn't like Birdman, and somebody's spitting on their iPod right now.
What should I watch?
You really had to have been there.
I'll skip ahead. I watched.
the story isn't enough.
I watched the Fast and the Furious today, the first one. I thought you piqued my interest, and I thought, okay, I got to start from the beginning because
You've never seen the first one?
nope, I hadn't seen any of them, not at all.
It's an
I actually
okay movie.
own one of them. I still never watched it, but now I can because it's the second one I own. So
It's an okay movie.
yeah, it was good. I mean,
It's not great,
It was
but it's-
nothing that I expected, except for after watching it. Now I'm thinking they must have really got fantastical at this point because it really feels like a Motorhead movie with some
Yeah.
crime in it, you know.
Yeah.
So then
Which is pretty much how it starts.
I understand the
And then
first-
it becomes a racing
The
movie
first
later.
half of them are about cars, and the second half of them are about guys with tanks. And let's throw stuff at airplanes.
So I'm curious to see where it goes now. I'm going to have to put Fast and Furious on hold, though, because my plan, because I missed almost all the Marvel watch along.
Yeah, ditto.
Marvel with Friends. You have, starting tomorrow, you have equal amount of days, if you do one a day,
Not going
to
happen.
get to. Well, that's not true. You're short a day if you go on Friday. I'm going Saturday, so it works out for me.
I think what Mel and I have decided, because we were actually talking about this, is that we're going to do phase 2.
Yeah,
We're going to start with the Avengers and watch all of the
Avengers is not phase 2.
Well, but first of all, I could watch
the
the
bookend.
Avengers
It's the
end of phase 1.
every day, all
Yeah.
day, you know. But we'll watch Avengers and then Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Captain America 2, and
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which I don't know if we don't. If, I kind of feel like
That's the one that's kind of. I don't think that's going to have as much of an impact.
and I
on
kind of
Age
feel.
of-
I mean, I
or
love
Age of
Guardians.
Ultron.
I could watch Guardians over and over again, but I kind of feel like if we don't get to Guardians, I'm not going to be
Right.
crushed. But the others, I definitely feel because I haven't seen Cap.
I was able to
I'm
join in
starting
for,
tomorrow from square one, and I'm going to catch up. So
I was able to join in for Winter Soldier. That's such a good movie. This is probably like the 5th time, and I'm always wowed at how good it is.
See, I haven't seen it since the theater.
See, I saw it like 3 times in the theater. Once at like the cheap theater, and then once in Lawrence, and then once here. Once in St. Louis. And every time I'm just blown away about how solid of a film that is.
yeah, it's really, really good.
So good.
Of course, being on vacation all last week, I just got stuff done around the house, so lots of projects to work on. And then Holly and I went to Kansas City on Saturday morning. We left the kids with my folks, and we did an overnight for our anniversary. So
Happy anniversary!
thank you. We kind of progressed through the city in movements. We started at the Hollywood Casino because it's on the west side of town, and it's pretty cool. Have you been there yet?
Yeah.
It's cool. I love it. I mean, it's your average casino, but it's really the way it's themed is really, really neat. Me being a movie snob, it's
Film snob.
Film snob.
You're not a movie snob. You're a
It's-
film snob.
It's
can't
themed.
be a snob
It-
about
obviously,
You could be a movie buff,
Hollywood theme.
but a
and,
film snob.
we ate an epic buffet while we were there, which was pretty decent. It's not the best buffet in the world, but it was pretty good. Had a good selection. Then we went over to Nebraska Furniture Mart and looked at a living room set that we really liked that I think we're going to go back and finance. And then we have always been looking for
Are you sure? Because you just bought a TV.
We've been looking. Well, you got to have something to go with the TV. We paid straight out cash for the TV.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for your car to break down.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's why we didn't buy it this weekend, because we were still waiting for that other shoe to drop. And then
I'm not negative.
we've always been looking for a storage chest, one of the ones with the benches that you can sit on for the end of our bed, so we can put blankets and sheets and stuff in there, because our linen closet's just cram packed with stuff. And we found one we really, really liked, but we didn't want to drive around Kansas City all day with this thing in the back of the car, which it would have fit, no problem. But so we'll come back on Sunday on the way out of town. Yeah,
that too.
And so we said we'll go on the way out of town and buy it, because it was affordable. We purchased it, but we'll get it on the way home. So we left, and then we did Crown Center that night. So we went to Sea Life. We didn't do Legoland, but we did Sea Life.
Yeah, I don't think you could have
aquarium.
You had to have a kid to go to Legoland.
And
they have adult days.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did,
because nothing is creepier than going to hang out at Legoland on adult day.
So it's there, which is pretty cool. It's a neat little aquarium. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's like the right manageable size.
Mm-hmm.
You walk through and they've got a lot of great stuff there.
I think. It's if you're an aquarium snob.
I am not.
I think you'd be a little disappointed in it. And I mean, we've certainly. I like the one in Omaha up at the zoo there. I think their aquarium is actually better and nicer than this one. But if you have a kid with you, because so much of it is kind of geared toward the touching and the young kid kind of stuff. I mean, we went with Katrina and had a great time because she loved all of it.
You know what I liked about this one was the fact that it seemed more educational and correct. I mean, I don't want to say correct. It was laid out really nicely.
Yeah,
whereas the one at the Omaha Zoo is more like a zoo. You go there and it's just animals behind glass, or fish behind glass, sea life behind glass. So while it's bigger tanks at Omaha, I actually like the layout.
Well, it's a little more spectacle versus, like you said, the educational aspect of it.
I don't even know it's spectacle. It's just, it's kind of there. I guess nothing compares to the one that we went through at Mall of America. That one was just blew me away. It was so good.
So aquariums don't fall under your zoo category?
They're the upper tier of zoos, but I could.
We know your stance on zoos.
I could sit and watch fish all day, though. I mean, they're fascinating.
That's kind of the exception.
Yeah, it's the exception.
That's why he picked that seat.
See the aquarium behind Keith.
I think the silver dollars are eating the other ones.
Oh.
They keep there was a whole school of little ones. What did we decide they were? The neon tetras or whatever.
Yeah,
there was a whole school in there once upon a time, and they're not there now. I find no fish bodies, so I think I've got two. We've got two silver dollars there, and I think they're just eating.
They've probably gotten to the size now where they can't eat them. We went to Manny's, which is our favorite Mexican restaurant in Kansas City, for dinner, and then went on the way back to the hotel, which we stayed at the Hawthorne Inn and Suites, which is really nice. We stopped at IKEA.
Where's that one at?
It's on College down near Metcalf, between Metcalf and Quivira. It's about halfway down College.
Okay.
It's cool because it's 8, 9, I think it's 12 units, and there's only 9 rooms per unit, and so you go from the outside, but when you go inside, it's almost like an apartment complex, is what it looks like.
Oh, okay.
And you enter from the outside, so it's not inside, but the rooms were really nice. They're dated because there's a lot of things about them that just felt like they'd been there a while and really could use an upgrade. But they're nice rooms and nice big king size bed and a little sofa and table and microwave and refrigerator and the whole 9 yards. You could stay there for several days. So it was pretty nice. And then, but on the way to that hotel, we went to IKEA. I'd never been to IKEA before.
How was it?
That's a weird setup. I actually enjoyed it. First, we drive up there. We can't figure out where we're supposed to park because there's a little tiny strip of parking around the outside of the place. What
it's
in
a
the world?
huge building.
Yeah.
You know why there's no parking on the outside? Because you park on the first level of the store. Underneath the store is a parking garage. It's the most ingenious thing to do. Now, I don't know if all IKEAs are like this. I think what happened is they found a prime spot right off of 35, And they said, this is a great spot to be, but we will have very little land to work with. So they built a parking garage
That
underneath.
makes a lot of sense, yeah.
That's really, really well done because you never, I mean,
So you just park in the basement of the store.
pretty much.
Oh, that's
Well, it's
And you get
cool.
on an escalator and you go up to the first floor.
We
And
went to the Target in DC, or it was, I don't even think it was proper DC, and they had, the garage was like the bottom two floors, and then there's escalators for the carts.
This is exactly
Yeah.
what it was. And that's how it's similar. And
It's probably
except for
in a
this
lot
was
of
only
bigger,
one floor.
Yeah, this is probably like that in a lot of bigger
Which
cities
makes
too.
sense in Washington because there's very
Yeah.
little room
It
to.
doesn't make sense in Kansas City, so I wonder if that's an IKEA
Well, that's why I
thing.
wonder, or like I said, they
Well, it
had
looks
found
like
a
a
prime
pretty-
spot there. It's actually is it Meriden?
Yeah.
Not Meriden.
Meridian. I know where it's at.
Merriam.
Merriam.
Yeah.
It's in Merriam. And so and there's not a lot of Merriam. So I have a feeling that they just felt that was a prime spot there. So anyway, you go up an escalator and you're on the first floor, which is where if you came in off the street, you would enter in that level. Then you go up another floor, and there you can look over to the left and you can see the checkout counters, but that's about it. You can just see through a narrow doorway. You're in this room, but the cool thing is they have a spot where you could drop your kids off, and they can play while you shop, which is we didn't have our kids with us, but that is already we've always talked about. That would be really cool if there was a place where you could drop your kids off, pick them up at the end.
Who watches
Then
your
you
kids?
go up another. It's IKEA employees. They have to be like toilet trained and within a certain age, and but they have employees that staff it. So
Cool.
you go up another you go up another escalator from that point, and that's where the store starts. And you literally walk through the entire showroom. There are arrows on the floor that you follow, and they literally get you to walk past everything in the store this way because it's designed so that you see everything as you go through. And you can take it at any speed you want. You can get off into the showroom into the little compartmentalized areas that have like furniture, living room furniture, bedroom furniture, things like that. Anyway, you wind your way around through the showroom, and it literally winds you around the showroom when you follow this path. And then you get to the end, and there's two ways to shop there. If you see something that's large on the showroom, you look at a tag, and it'll tell you certain directions on the tag. If it's small items like what we bought these things for the kids to put their stuffed animals in, they're actually on the showroom floor, and you just take it and carry it with you. But then after you've wound through the main showroom, you go down a level, and there's actually a food court
Where they
you
have
can
their famous
and they have all of their Swedish style foods and things like that. And you wind through another showroom. And then when you get to the end of that showroom, you go down a set of stairs, and then you walk into what I can only describe as a warehouse. And this has aisle upon aisle upon aisle upon aisle. And what you do is when you saw something on a showroom, you look and it had the aisle that you would find. It's self-serve. And so you go to that aisle and that number, and you pull off the shelf the product that you're going to buy.
And then put together when you get home.
Yeah, because everything there is put together.
Because
And then
it's IKEA.
yeah, and you put it on one of these big old long trolley carts, and you take it straight to the checkouts. And right there at the checkouts, you go through. The checkouts it didn't take us like maybe more than 30 minutes to get to the store. I mean, because we were just casually browsing. We could easily spend 2 or 3 hours in there. But we got to the checkouts. We had 2 items, and we were in line for about 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So many. Now, it was the end of the night. It was about to close. So I think what happened is everybody kind of had moved down to get checked out and get out. But yeah, we waited about 20 minutes in line, and almost every register was being run, but there was a huge line in every register.
Did you eat any of the meatballs?
We didn't eat any meatballs, no. So then you go out and you go down another level, and you're back in the garage. It's really, really fascinating the way they've got it set up.
When did you pick up the kids?
We could. Well, yeah. No, I guess I skipped that at the
After the checkout?
beginning of the second showroom. You pick the kids up because it's the way you've come down. It's adjoined to where you drop them off.
Okay.
So there's a door on one side of it where you'd come in. There's a door on the other side where you can pick them up. Now, the thing that I found interesting is that on that second showroom floor, you still have to walk through that showroom with the kids if you pick them up from there. So that's
So is the expensive stuff upstairs?
yes. That's
Well
exactly-
played, IKEA. Well played.
So we left there and went back to the hotel, and then the next morning we got up and we were just we thought, we'll go to Legends and we'll go back to Nebraska Furniture Mart. So we walked around Legends a little bit. And we do hardly any shopping at Legends, but we always love to just walk around because it's an outdoor mall. I mean, it's so cool, and it's got a great atmosphere.
The fountains.
Yeah. And so I can't remember if we ate breakfast at Denny's. And did we eat somewhere before we went home? If we did, I sure don't remember. Anyway, so we went back to our last stop was Nebraska Furniture. We were going out of town. So we go in and we spend 20 minutes trying to find the damn section with the thing we saw because we couldn't remember where we saw it. So we walked through the whole store.
It's not a small store.
It's over here. No, it's not over here. It's over here. No, it's not over here. Yeah, it's a big store. We get over there where it was, and it was gone. And the floor model was gone. So somebody had bought the last one on Saturday, early Sunday. So we came home without our storage, which we've been looking for a year and couldn't. So my dad told me, because most places don't do this, but my dad told me you can pay for items there and they'll hold merchandise that's already paid for. I didn't realize that. And I guess that idea is because so many people come from all around to go to Nebraska Furniture Mart that they'll do that for you. But there's a lot of stores that won't do that. Once you've paid for it, you have to take it out of the store.
Yeah.
So
next time you go, you can.
Next time, she did say, keep an eye out because a lot of times those we'll just get them all back in, and then there'll be another model there. Yeah. So we'll go back over another time and see. That was it. And Game of Thrones on Saturday or Sunday night. That's everything I did.
I am almost halfway through season 2 of Arrow.
Oh, cool.
I'm still 3 episodes from the end of season 1.
I'm an episode past what would have been the mid-season finale with Barry Allen. So I finally got to see how all that actually happened.
So this is the second part of the 2-part crossover, right?
I finished that part.
Oh, you did finish that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's because I was just looking, and so the end of the 2-part. Well, this was before the crossover because the end of the 2-part backdoor pilot.
Oh.
In season 2.
Is that in the middle of season 2?
Mm-hmm.
What season are we on?
3. Arrow's on season 3.
It just ended, didn't it? Or is it still?
No, it's still going.
It's still going.
I guess I didn't realize we were on season 3 already.
Yeah, you're on season
Holy
3.
cow. Okay. Never mind then.
Time
so
flies.
Flash
When
started
you're having
during
fun.
Arrow season 3. The actual show.
Yeah, the show started with season 3. So it runs season 1 and season 3 run parallel. But the backdoor pilot started in. So technically, the pilot of the Flash happens.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It just I'm.
You seem so confused by the idea.
I thought we were still in season 2.
Nope.
I guess because I started season 2 at the end. Yeah, because I caught up with season 1 and then watched most of season 2, and then
He's still in season 1 of Game of Thrones too, because he watched it all at one. 4 years made one season. Now he's in season 2.
Yeah,
Because now I'm just watching.
because I watched all 4 seasons while season 4 was on the air.
That's what happens when you mainline.
I just got done with the episode that featured Simon from Firefly.
Yeah. Right.
Nice little cameo. Didn't really do much else this week. We Sarah and I we had a nice and lazy weekend because it's been so busy with house stuff that we just didn't do much this weekend.
Blame you.
Caught up on a lot of shows because a lot of shows came back this past week.
Yeah.
But we did get in a movie, an Indian film, The Lunchbox. And it's got the older guy from Life of Pi is one of the main characters.
Oh, okay.
That actor. And it's rather charming. Doesn't quite.
Wasn't he the same guy in Slumdog Millionaire?
I never saw all of Slumdog Millionaire, so
I don't remember.
I thought he was the cop also in.
He might have been.
Might have been.
I could IMDb,
Nah.
but
People will just yell at their iPods saying, "No, Glenn, you're wrong again."
or yes, you're right.
I didn't particularly like
another.
Slumdog Millionaire, so
I couldn't get through it.
pushed it away to the.
That's a good movie.
I think
It's not that
I
it's a
still think
bad
that
movie,
he's
it's
getting
just-
recognized for Sunshine a year late.
If only it hadn't gone.
But it's this interesting Indian film that's about this woman who is making lunches for her husband and sends them to his work. It's kind of a neat system that they have where you can either have restaurants or people from home make you a hot lunch, pack it, send it with the carrier, they take it to your work, and then they bring it back. So it's just you get a hot lunch on your desk when it's close to lunchtime, and then you get to eat. And then it goes back. But it winds up going to the wrong person. And she kind of figures this out really early on. And then they start writing notes to each other. And so then...
I remember seeing that advertised.
Yeah, so it was really an interesting
That sounds
film.
cute.
Yeah, it's
not cute.
It's cute. But
Was it a tragedy?
It's not
What
a tragedy.
happened?
It's Bollywood cute.
It's not even Bollywood either. It's
not.
It's rather it's a subdued film. It's a subdued cute. The trailer makes it look like it's going to be this really
Let me
great
add that to my
romantic
film snob dictionary.
Subdued cute.
The trailer portrays it as like it's going to be this great epic, almost love story, but it really isn't. I mean, the ending doesn't end how you expect it to happen.
You've lost me. I'm
I'm
not going to invest that much time if they don't hook up. I'm sorry, but if you start
writing
writing
lines there, huh?
if you start writing notes to each other and you don't end up together at the end of the film, you failed.
Well,
I just don't care anymore.
But I was okay with why they didn't end up together because of the way everything plays out. It's very interesting.
Nope.
Sarah ended up liking it, even though she wished it would have ended a little happier. But it kind of ended it ambiguous.
This is why I'm not a film
Ambiguous?
snob. I'll tell you right now, because I like
But
the
you'll still
Hollywood
watch it.
ending. I don't like the I don't like that now. The Hollywood ending now is everything has to end on a down note. People don't get together anymore.
Luckily, this wasn't a
Somebody
Hollywood
dies at the end that you don't want to die, that you're rooting for.
But you didn't like Birdman.
We've got
You got a Hollywood ending right there, buddy.
What he was idiotic about the whole thing. That's the problem. And then you've got anti-heroes galore, which I used to like the anti-hero story every once in a while.
It's become cliche.
It's so cliche.
Well, it was when the anti-hero was the anti-hero, it was cool. Now the anti-hero is the everyman, and it's like, I don't care anymore.
But it was interesting also to see how much was in Hindu and how much was in English, because a lot more of it was in English than I expected. So just from a cultural aspect, it was Hindi. Yeah, sorry, Hindi. Just from a cultural aspect, it was a fascinating watch.
Well, that's not surprising because India was under British rule for so long that it's equally as common of a language as Hindi is. Yeah. So
it's an interesting film. I would recommend it. Just don't.
I'm going to put it on my list, even though it doesn't end the way I want it to end.
But you might be okay with the way it all shakes out.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it doesn't end the way the trailer portrays it would end, but by the time it gets to that ending, you're okay with it.
If it doesn't piss me off at the end, then it's probably going to be a good movie.
Sarah loves a happy ending, and she was still okay with the way it ended. Because it is kind of ambiguous about the way they ended. And then...
Yep.
I watched Predestination.
Ooh, how is that one? That's on my list.
Interesting. Really interesting.
It's a time travel movie.
With Ethan Hawke.
Hello.
You had me in time travel and you lost me to Ethan Hawke.
But surprisingly, he's like... Okay, so it starts with Ethan Hawke, and then he's gone for like 45 minutes.
Oh, I can deal with that.
It's based off of...
Of course, it would ruin the film if he comes back. So maybe
he does
not.
come back.
Hey.
But
why do you hate Ethan Hawke?
I don't get the hate.
There is a handful of actors that when I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but when I see them in a film, they just rub me the wrong way. No matter what part they're portraying, no matter how good of an actor they are. Mel Gibson's is another one of those people. You know how I always felt Mel Gibson's a mediocre
disliked
actor.
Mel Gibson.
This isn't a big challenge for Ethan Hawke. He kind of gets to be the gruff guy and does some action, and that's about it. I don't know what I want to... based off the title, what do you expect from it?
What's it called?
Predestination. which is better than the
A time travel movie where you can't change time.
Okay.
Good answer. I'll go with his.
You almost expect the loop.
Yeah.
It's the best loop story I've ever seen in my life. It is so well crafted and so perfectly rounded that it fits together perfectly.
Better than 12/21?
Yes.
But we crafted our film so well, Keith. There was
It
no
was
flaws in
crafted
that
well,
movie.
but
In
the
fact,
execution
if
just
there
didn't
was an
quite work
honest
as well.
trailer for it, it would be like Captain America and Winter Soldier. They could find no flaw. I'm absolutely being facetious about it because it's not even true at all.
A short film that requires an index card
And this is a movie that does
Longer than the film.
to explain the time travel elements of it.
But you kind of go into
Wow,
it with
there's an in-joke.
That's what happens when you set out to make a time travel film and you make it your first film.
A 6-minute film, 3 years in the making.
It literally was. Sorry, Keith.
This is what happens when you for that 3 years of pre-production that you sit around playing solitaire on your computer and your iPod, and I don't remember the other device. We've got a photo.
You had a deck of playing cards.
Oh, that's what it was.
An
It was an
deck of
actual
playing
deck.
cards.
Wow, there were still cards in those days.
Yeah.
There was an actual deck of cards. I've got a photo
And we didn't have
somewhere that proves
iPhones
that.
at the time. I had an iPod.
You had an iPod,
So I think
and
we
I
had
my
the
computer.
the computer, the iPod, and a
And the
deck of
actual
cards.
and each of us was playing solitaire in a production meeting.
Sorry, predestination.
Yeah, sorry, predestination. Awesome loop.
It's based off of a Robert Heinlein story.
Oh,
All You
I didn't know
Zombies.
that.
I don't know if you've read All You
I've never
Zombies.
read that one.
It,
but-
the title was completely... it's based off... The title is based off a single line in the story, and that's all the title is. But it's... I went into it kind of thinking, okay,
Predestination or the zombie thing?
the zombie.
Oh, okay.
is
You've read
based
the
off-
story?
No, I have not. I want
okay.
to go read the story now. But I went into the movie kind of with a, okay, I know this is a time travel, and then it takes this, it starts off time travel-esque, and then it takes this left turn of this man telling this bartender her life story. And it just spins.
Oh.
Yep.
Whose life story? A man telling a bartender
Her life
her
story.
life story? The bartender's life story?
The man's life story.
So the man was a woman?
Yes.
Oh.
So it starts off with this really bizarre premise,
The Time Lord.
and then it
It can happen. We know now for sure.
it works,
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a woman?
and it spends 45 minutes telling her story
Sean, I'm going to eat all your tweet that.
of how she winds up in this bar, and then it gets back to the time travel.
Get him away from me.
It's fascinating, and when it ended, I just kind of sat there flabbergasted, like, wow.
And that's saying something, because Keith has seen
I know
every
my
time travel story ever, except for Doctor Who, which we're still working on.
And there are things in it that, on the surface, that you would think would be problematic, that would create issues. But the way it's written and the way it's folded on itself, there isn't an issue there. The way it loops it works so well, and the storytelling and the mechanics of the story is you go, wait a minute, how could that? And then you start to think about it, and it works.
Okay.
So every little bit of it plays to, like, I don't think they added anything to the story to flesh it out to be a movie. I think this short story was so compact that they just sat down and adapted it, and they did a perfect job with it, from what I can tell. I really want to go read the book now, or the story.
Well, every Robert Heinlein movie is perfect. I mean, look at Starship Troopers.
This is perfect in a different way.
I liked Starship.
I love Starship Troopers.
But it's,
Anybody
it's
who's read the book hates it.
Yeah, so I'm really intrigued to see how different it is. But I think it's one I'm going to go out and buy on Blu-ray, because it's one of those that just makes your brain work as you watch it. And there were some things in it that I saw coming that I don't know if sitting down knowing it's a time travel movie and the title Predestination kind of puts a
So what he's
preconceived
saying
notion.
is he has ruined the film for us.
No, because you had the same thought I did sitting down to watch it, the same expectations. So yeah.
Well, it's
I highly
gone
recommend
from
it.
here on my list to here on my list. So
Above or below Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I don't know yet. Flip a coin.
I didn't realize until I was doing more looking into it that Heinlein is a Missouri guy. He went to school in Kansas City. I did not know that.
I'm a bit intrigued, but that kind of goes against my new rule for watching films.
The Netflix rule.
No, well,
Shuffle.
I need to get back to the
Or the not taking recommendations
Netflix
from
roulette.
Shaun and I.
yeah. But if you guys liked a film, I probably won't, so I just avoid them. So if you guys didn't like a film, then I usually watch them because I'm probably going to like it. So
I think you might like it based on the time travel aspect alone.
Okay. I'll put that I'll put that on the list too.
Tonally,
Where are you watching these so that
I got it from the library.
Oh.
I got the Blu-ray from the library.
But it's on Netflix.
Is it? Because it wasn't when I put it on my list from the library.
I'm pretty sure it is
Predestination
now.
is?
I think it's been added.
I'm going to Netflix now to look.
Okay, you look it up.
So I'm going to give it 5 stars and give it a raving review.
Did you ever watch Maleficent?
No, it's
picked that
still
up
on
at
our
the-
list.
I
We
picked that up at the
dumped
library
the kids
also.
off, so we
Because they
this
want to
week-
see it.
This weekend
Well, at least Caitlin.
We actually were going to watch it Friday. Oh, we watched Mockingjay this week too. I forgot. We watched
Ooh.
Mockingjay.
Part one?
Part one. No, the second one that's not out yet. I got a preview copy of it, or anybody
Sweet.
else did.
Did they change the ending?
Predestination is not on Netflix.
It's not on
Mockingjay
Netflix.
Point One is.
Okay, I thought it was.
Might be
Okay.
thinking of something else. It came out really quick on DVD after the...
Yeah, we had it at the
release.
store, but I've kind of been waiting for a used copy to show up so that I can rent it as opposed to paying for it
Well,
outright.
I don't know how many... Put your name on the list. Might be able to get it on Blu-ray at the library.
I'm sure I can. I don't live near there. It's not my. It doesn't stream into my living room. I don't watch it.
Give me your library card. I'll go pick it up where you want it at home.
The only reason I watched
Film snob.
Birdman this week is because with my Chromecast, I got a free Google Play movie that I hadn't used, and so I went flipping through their titles and found it. And I went, okay, I'm going to
You
use
can probably
my free
rent it
rental.
digitally pretty cheap now. Predestination.
I did rent Fast and Furious for $1 today, so that's how I
you go.
saw that.
Yeah, you couldn't get that from the Sean Collins Lending Library because you still have some titles checked out.
Oh, you have Fast? Oh, you told me
I do
last
have the
week
first
you
one.
own that one, and
I have 1, 2, and 6.
see, I own. I've seen the first one now. I own the second one. The third one's on HBO now.
Which you
And
want
the
to wait.
sixth one is on HBO now.
I did.
I'm going to watch them in order. I'm going to watch them in the order that they came out.
I did further research in this
Is there a
because
machete order for Fast and Furious?
because Mel watched them in order and was so lost, I think, with most of America when the third one came out. And apparently, the official now Fast and the Furious, this is how you watch them, is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3.
Yeah.
In credits of 6, 7.
No, I'm not going to machete this.
That's how it's supposed to happen. Now,
I think
it doesn't
I'm a
work because
small-
apparently they have cell phones that are still flips
Yeah.
in the third one.
I am a smart enough guy to realize when I watch something that's sequenced out of order that I can put it back in order in my head.
Well, because they didn't do that on purpose.
No, I'm sure they
So it
didn't.
was just
They were done at 3 and then went, oh, it was really successful. Let's make a fourth
That's
one.
the thing.
And let's
Apparently,
bring Paul Walker back.
3 wasn't successful, I think, was the problem. That's why they made a 4, is to fix it and ask, please, Paul, will you please come back and fix this? Because we screwed it up.
It was Jaws 3D. Although they made that worse by doing Jaws Revenge. So.
My favorite story. Michael Caine cannot
Halloween
be...
3. There you go.
There you go.
That's right.
There, yeah. Michael Caine cannot be with us tonight to pick up his Academy Award for Best Actor because he's in the Bahamas shooting Jaws the Revenge.
So what did you think of Mockingjay? Part 1.
It's good. It's good. I enjoyed it.
Better than the book, part 1?
The first half of the book?
Yeah.
Did it
I'm
need to be
thinking
2
back.
parts?
The Mockingjay is my least favorite of the book trilogy.
Agreed.
Mockingjay Part 1 actually Mockingjay the book gets tedious. The movie was done, although I don't think they deviated from the first half of the book at all. It was done in such a way that it kept you interested through the whole thing, and so it scored high points with me because of that. It didn't feel tedious. So,
well, the book seemed to focus a lot on her whining about trying to get PETA back, and the movie toned that down a little bit.
did you
At
see
least
it?
the first half. Yeah, we went and saw it in theaters.
I haven't seen it yet.
There were parts in the movie
It's been
where
so
it
long
was,
since I read Mockingjay, but I thought she complained about wanting to get PETA
yeah,
back
but
a
it
lot
just
in the
felt
movie,
like there
too.
was more in the book.
Okay.
Maybe
that's probably
maybe
true.
because we had that inner monologue of her.
I bet
discussing-
you're right.
Yeah.
I bet you're exactly
And then the
right.
movie that's not there. So,
I
what did
just-
you do, Sean?
I know who I don't like. I just know who I don't like already, so I don't have to get mad because I already know how it ends. So that's probably why the movie's better.
I got so excited that Ethan Hawke's in the new Star Wars.
Yeah, he's going to be in Rogue One.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I'm
Yeah,
so
that trailer
jazzed
dropped
with
this week.
Oh.
Well,
Last week.
leaked this week.
Oh, the Rogue One.
The trailer.
The Rogue
Yeah.
One leak.
No, the actual Star Wars trailer
I haven't seen the Rogue One.
broke last week. I just
Disney-
saw
that
the
one
leaked.
scrambling
that one leaked,
celebration.
and I clicked on the
video.
thing, and Disney's this copyrighted blah
I
blah
actually
blah.
saw
thing
it.
been
came
removed.
out.
I saw the leaked video.
Did you?
Yeah, it's okay. It's kind of cool. It doesn't give us
It's,
anything.
yeah, it's a teaser.
I don't care.
In the true form of the
Well,
word teaser.
And they reuse one of my probably favorite lines and
Yeah.
speeches from the
Yeah.
trilogy.
Although somebody said
From the
because the
It doesn't
rumor
quite
is
make
Ewan
sense for
McGregor is actually going to reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but the voiceover is definitely lifted straight from
Oh, yeah.
A New Hope.
And it doesn't quite make sense for what they said about this movie either. Since, I mean, it kind of does, but it
I've been trying to. I mean,
Are you trying to avoid spoilers
It's
about it?
called
Rogue One.
Rogue One. Okay, obviously we're talking pilots. We're talking X-wings. I don't see why Obi-Wan would be in it. But
It's
Well,
set
it's-
between episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah. So
The premise, spoilers if you don't want to hear, plug your ears if you don't want to hear, but the premise is it's the rebel,
they're basing
it's
the
the
movie
group
off the one line.
that go in and steal the plans to the Death Star.
So we're going to see
It's
many,
their-
we're going to see many Bothans die.
Yeah.
what's a Bothan?
Have we seen them in the
I
movie
don't-
series
Well,
yet?
we have it in the movie series,
Okay.
which I'm sure they're going to change because in the books they're like these furry, pointy-eared,
Yeah.
anthropomorphized
That
dogs.
was a big part of... Which book was that a big part of where they explored that story? Wasn't
Well, they're
that...
talked about in the Thrawn trilogy. In fact, one of the
Well, it's
one of the
Shadows.
Republic higher ups is a Bothan.
Well,
Isn't Shadows of the Empire explored
no,
part
no,
of that?
no. Dark Forces. The video,
Ah,
the
yeah,
video
Dark
game.
Forces.
You
Maybe
were
that's
you
what
were
I'm
the
thinking.
spy that went in to steal
Okay,
the
maybe
plans.
that's what I'm thinking of. See, but that,
I didn't know that. Cool. I'm excited about
knowing,
that.
But
Yeah.
then seeing the trailer,
idea.
it's like I don't quite understand why they use that bit of dialogue. Because
Like I say, I haven't seen the trailer.
the
so I
last
don't know.
part, yeah, makes sense, but the first part, it's kind of harkening
for
back to
familiarity.
yeah, because they don't have anything else to use, I guess.
Although I'm still very much in the mindset that they named themselves rogues after Yavin, and so I don't know how much I'm going to.
Don't you suppose maybe they named themselves, even though it was after Yavin, they named themselves for the group that went in and stole the plans?
There you go.
Okay, fixed. Headcanon. Thank you.
While we're on it,
Let's
you
talk about the
guys
trailer.
saw the trailer, right? For
Yes, yes.
episode
I didn't
7?
only watch the trailer. I watched
Force
the
Awakens.
trailer
We're
like
no longer-
19 times this week.
Yeah, me too. We're no longer using episode
Episode
1, 2,
titles, yeah.
3. We're not using episode titles anymore. Did you notice that? With the digital
Well, they did that
releases, it
since
says
then.
Star
Oh.
Wars. It says Star Wars: A New Hope. Star Wars: Phantom Menace. Star Wars.
Did you actually buy
Attack
one of the digital releases?
I haven't yet, but I've
The
I've
crawl
gone to
would still
iTunes
say-
a number of times going
I know, right?
$90.
Buy all.
Yeah, well, because that's just it. I thought, well, I could buy them one at a time, but then it's going to cost me an extra $40 or $50 in order to do them one at a time. But it seems like I could spread them out over paychecks a
Yeah.
lot easier. But part of me thinks I've still never bought the Blu-ray, which is just
Crazy talk.
crazy for me because I own every other copy, every other version you can possibly have, with the exception of Laserdisc. I have every other version.
Both of those.
I have the original VHS release. I have the THX VHS release, and I have the
Widescreen.
special edition VHS release.
Do you have the widescreen box with the
I
hologram?
don't have the widescreen box.
Oh,
No, I don't
I'm
have
disappointed now.
that one. And then I have the DVD version of all of the films. I have the DVD version of the Laserdisc, which was the original cut that they released. Yeah, original
The
cut.
individual releases they did.
Yeah, that were basically the Laserdisc versions on DVD.
Yeah.
And I even have that
At
I
least
bought
you can
from
watch
Shaun.
to the original cut.
Actually,
At
I
least
bought
you
from
can
the
watch
store that
yours
Shaun was
without
working
a
at.
blue screen between them every 30 minutes like I have.
I have the ultra rare VHS version of Phantom Menace. It's the only one of the new trilogy that was released on VHS, from what I understand.
The widescreen.
I have it in widescreen, yes.
The elongated box with film cell.
No. But I have the widescreen, but it's a regular size box.
Oh, you didn't keep because the widescreen one came in a like collector's box with a film cell.
Oh, it did have a collector's box.
And everybody was upset because I don't know
probably
how
do
many
have
of my
it. I probably do
friends
have it, yeah.
came out to the store and bought them, and we apparently got the whole batch where it was, that pan shot from Tatooine where it's desert, 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 and then there's Padme's
We each
ship.
got
Desert.
5
Everybody
frames of
got a
desert.
shot of desert.
Yeah, I remember that. I do have it. I think that's up with the rest of my Star Wars stuff put away in the
okay.
attic somewhere. But yeah, I do have that.
I'd be really hurt if you got rid of that VHS copy.
I have the VHS copy because it was in its own slip sleeve box
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And
Well, that way you could take it out.
Goes
of that.
on my it goes on my
See, that's
shelf.
the smart
thing to do.
packaging. Here's this big, gigantic, oversized box, and inside this big box is a little box that matches everything else to put on your shelf. It's like, thank you.
Although it didn't.
No, because they're gold instead of silver.
No. I actually, because I have the widescreen version on VHS of the special editions, those were silver. And the Paniscan was gold, which I always thought was weird. But
Oh,
I
yeah,
always
you're
liked
right, of the
that-
original
that
trilogy.
effect. Well,
But-
they did that with the DVDs,
Yeah.
too.
But the box art isn't even the same. It's like they decided on a box art design for because it sort of like the box art design for the DVD. They decided on that design, and I think they still intended to release everything again on VHS, and then they just stopped because VHS is dead. So anyway, the trailer.
I'm
going to
challenge that because
and I have watched that 2,000 or 3,000
Blockbuster,
times.
we had Attack of the Clones on VHS.
Let me say that is probably true, but it was never released at the street retail. It was released to video stores in the VHS version.
It had to have been a sell-through title. There's no way a Star Wars film would have come out at a rental price point.
I could be wrong, but I was looking on the internet to see how many versions there were out there, and it only lists the...
Regardless, there's a lot of versions.
It's true.
I'm going to call
Well,
Sinead.
you have a lot more versions to buy, because then there's the Blu-ray.
I'm not buying them all.
Clock,
I did that
whole
back in
saga.
the day. No, see, and that's just it. If I bought the Blu-ray edition, I would just buy the whole set. I wouldn't buy
I
it.
have
Well,
one of
that's the
those at
problem, though.
work,
It's-
$74.
See, it's a much higher price,
What?
too.
I have one of those sagas at work, $74 used. Plus my discount. Just saying.
You know, I'm tempted to just
To wait?
buy I'm tempted just to buy the digital versions, and that way I don't have to worry about...
I'm tempted to buy the digital. I
Like
told Mel, I was like,
multi-box?
look, it's...
Like
And she goes,
multi-box.
why would you want to do that? You own them on Blu-ray. And I'm like, because I can watch it on anything, anywhere, ever. She goes, yeah, but you own them on Blu-ray. It's like, you're missing the point, Mel. I could watch them on my phone. I could watch them on my computer. I could watch them on my iPad. I could watch them on the TV or the Xbox. But you have them on Blu-ray. But it's Star Wars. So I haven't done that either, but I'm fighting.
Yeah, I'm fighting it too. And now we're talking about doing a Star Wars with friends near the end of the year before the movie comes
there's
out.
a poll.
So,
to vote on
yeah.
which version of the movie
Well, I
you
went and
own.
ticked every version that I own because it said tick more than one. So I think the idea is to come up with a consensus of what everybody the most have of a version. And which, watching VHS, I don't have to dig my VHS player out.
Oh, you want to come watch it on Laserdisc? I'll fire up the
I
player.
would, but I guarantee that's not going to win the poll.
Was that even a tick option?
I don't know if it was a
I
tick
should go
option.
look. I'll write in.
It's on the 5-ish Fangirls webpage, so if you plan to join us, be sure to go there and vote. They're talking about doing Back to the Future this summer.
That'd be fun. I've been
The trailer.
meaning to go
The
back and
trailer.
watch
So Steve.
So I
or
felt like a
Steve,
kid again.
it. Yeah.
I really did. I watched it going, course, I did that with Phantom Menace too. We saw how that turned out. So.
Patrick came over, and he and Mel watch shows, and he came over and we watched. They were watching Orphan Black, and then in between Orphan Black and Game of Thrones, so I got to see Game of Thrones episode 1. Yay! Kind of like you said, nothing.
It's establishing the season.
Yeah,
Establishing.
you know, and it was
bad. It just
it was a nice. Oh yeah, and the dragons are locked up, except for and they're not happy with you, and boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. I felt
not all of the dragons are.
I felt good that we're reintroduced.
Yeah,
is kind of a good way to say it. So then,
what was it, the longest last time on Game of Thrones
man.
I've ever seen in my life?
Even called back to season 1.
Yes, it did.
And then, so Patrick pulls it up and he says, "We gotta watch this." And I'm like, "What is it?" And he says, "You'll see." And he played it, and I got angry. I got angry because I got so fanboy, giddy, childlike excited.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. I really, I want to stay kind of
when you have Luke talking and it's new dialogue or
but
And then Han and Chewie show up.
yeah, and then actually seeing them.
I saw the internet go ballistic when it came out.
Yeah, and I stayed away from it because I wanted to see it on my 50
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to know.
TV.
I don't want to know.
I didn't want to watch it.
But everybody was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, I don't want to know. And
it happened from the time, sometime between me leaving. It was really sometime between me leaving for work and me getting to work.
Yeah, it came out at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
and I waited till that night to watch it.
I'm trying to stay kind of clinically detached. I've been hurt before. I don't want to. I don't want to commit to this relationship again. And it just because everybody had that same reaction to the teaser, which is a teaser.
I didn't have that much. I mean, I enjoyed the teaser, but this one was like,
wow.
There's a teaser kind of
with the teaser, and until I heard his voice and then seeing Han and Chewie in the trailer, I've kind of put it in a fan film category. Now it's real. It's no longer a fan film. It's actually connected.
I was so from moment one. It's like, okay, establishing shot, desert again. Okay, and the little thing, and you're going like this, and there's that wreck in the middle of the screen, and you're looking at it going, what is that wreck? What is that wreck? And you don't notice the mountain behind it isn't a mountain.
It's a crash
Star Destroyer. It's like, oh, what? And then,
Well, I instantly thought of those posters they did when they kind of announced, or the fans made of the Star Destroyers crashing into planets. I thought, oh, they're actually taking inspiration.
Yeah. And the Black Stormtrooper, can we get him an inhaler? Because every clip I've seen of this guy, he's been out of breath and sweaty.
He's running.
It's like he's had a rough day. I don't know what his problem is. I'm intrigued. But, so it went on, and we got more X-Wings, and we got, Luke and the Hand and R2 and all this awesomeness, and the Falcon and flying inside the engines and the whole bit. And then, Chewie, we're home. And I wept. Just big. Star Wars is back. And I got so angry that they did that to me. And then Patrick looked at me with this big grin on his face.
Every string to pluck is what
Oh, yeah.
They knew every single one of them.
Patrick, you've got Disney. These guys are.
They know how to manipulate.
How many parents have Disney killed over the years? They know exactly what. They've got a whole room full of people going, you need to put this in the trailer. So I looked
they used to drag you back in the theaters to see all their classic films. They release them every 7 years.
Mm.
But Patrick looked at me with this big grin on his face, and I said, play it again. So Mel came in the room, and we watched it. And then we played it a third time to start dissecting it and really, oh, look at that, and look at this thing, and all this kind of stuff. And I just over and over and over. So then we went to this con. And we got into the big room where we were waiting for our Richard Dean Anderson panel. And the programming before that was basically the trailer presentation where we're going to watch all of the trailers for cool and upcoming films. And the audience is reacting to these like, ooh, ah. And it's like, do you guys not have YouTube? I've seen all of these.
Did you see the spoiler
times.
Terminator one?
No. Thankfully, we arrived late because I didn't know that was the panel that was in there.
I've avoided that one myself.
I don't want to know.
I've got a nice fan theory, but since you guys haven't watched it,
Yeah, I don't. That one I'm going to stay away from because I don't want to know.
I haven't watched the new Jurassic Park one yet.
Oh, the new Jurassic Park one is awesome.
I haven't seen that one yet either. But we saw Mission Impossible, and everyone's there's a new Mission Impossible. It's like, yes, there's
I saw that weeks ago. Yeah,
it looks great.
They had the Batman versus Superman.
Yeah. Okay. So that broke that morning, and Mel and I literally were laying in bed in the hotel, and I pulled it up on the iPad, and Superman trailer. I was like, okay, so we clicked on it, and we watched it. Let me tell you how unimpressed, underwhelmed, and all in general unexcited I am for this movie.
Me too.
I'm
trying not to be.
Now.
I'm trying not to let you rub off on me. I'm trying. I can't. I'm still have that. I've got to give it a chance.
I think
attitude.
the Batman stuff is going to be great in it. It's the everything else that I'm not too sure
Well,
about.
I kind of like the idea of that they're at least taking it seriously, that there's this group that hates Superman because he's, okay, that's kind of cool. For what you set up in the first film, that's a logical extension of that plot. I'll go with that. It's just not my Superman.
No.
It's not what I want. So...
Yeah,
and all of my fanboy friends on Facebook were all like, "Oh my god, this!" It's like, no.
I think everybody was fanboying over Batman, and let's keep in mind it's a Superman sequel. It's not a Batman film, even though Batman's going to be prominently in it. So, yeah, that's true.
So then, at the end of this trailer presentation, he says, "Oh, and there's this other film. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. It's going to come out in December." And there was a little bit of laughter because we knew what was coming. And it came up. And I'm in a room with I don't know, probably 2,000 people. It wasn't as big as the big room at Planet Comic-Con, but, 2,000 some odd people in this room. And it's packed. And the lights, and it comes up on the screen, and you could just hear this collective. And they held it for 2 minutes until, Chewie, we're home. And the place went bananas. And... goosebumps, and again the inner fanboy. It was a completely different experience watching it on the couch with Patrick and Mel versus watching it in that environment. And it's like, man, I cannot wait.
Well,
December cannot come fast enough.
Just seeing the original teaser from a TV or computer on the big screen makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll tell you,
man.
I'll tangent a little more.
We haven't done
the
enough
best
of that yet.
experience I ever had with a quote unquote trailer, and it was more of a teaser, but it was not the teasers we get now, is when I went to Celebration 2, the year that Attack of the Clones was coming out. And we had seen, this is like, the internet was still very young, and you didn't get movie trailers online. You got them in the theater. But the most incredible experience I had with theaters with a trailer was we went into this room where they were talking about Attack of the Clones and how it was getting ready to come out, and I don't even remember what the entire panel itself was for, but it was a packed room. It was the largest ballroom in the well, you remember it. It was the big ballroom at Indianapolis, ballroom, and we're all packed in there, and we're sitting there. And they had
the one where they ruined Revenge of the Sith for me.
They had a whole no, that was a different room. This was the really big one that we saw. Who did we go in there to see? That's the one they kept having Lucas in the year that we were there. Really, really big. It's like twice as big as the one that they ruined. Revenge of the Sith. Anyway, so I go in there and we sit down, and they I think it was Anthony Daniels who was because he was master of ceremonies, and he was talking, he was doing all this stuff. And they said, "What?" Steve Santweek came out, and he says he talked a little bit about Star Wars and Attack of the Clones, and still they weren't releasing a lot of information about Attack of the Clones. I mean, we saw images and stuff that were all over the place, but they said, now, unfortunately, it was the same day that Spider-Man came out, the exact same day that the first Spider-Man movie was coming out. In fact, it was on a Friday, and it was releasing that night. And they said, now, unfortunately, we can't show you anything from Attack of the Clones, but we did get a trailer for a little movie that's coming out tonight. And, well, Sony was kind enough to let us have a copy of the trailer, so we thought we'd show you, what you can expect from it. And so the lights go down, and the trailer comes up, and I'm thinking, why are they showing a Spider-Man? And in the Spider-Man font, I don't even remember what it said, but I still was convinced that it was Spider-Man, because in the Spider-Man font it said, coming this May to a theater near you, because it was May, and it said, and then it came up, and it's the scene where Yoda and Dooku fight, and all you see is Yoda walk up kind of to the camera, ignite his lightsaber, and the room just erupted because we're all expecting Spider-Man. And just everybody's going crazy. And, of course, then they show us maybe 30 seconds of that fight scene where Yoda's jumping around. And everybody was still curious. Is the CGI going to work? Is Yoda actually going to fight? You know, and they launch into this battle, and it was the most amazing experience I'd ever seen with a group of people watching a trailer for a film. And we were all blown away, and it all had to do with the setup for it, because we all thought we were going to see I don't know why. What's Star Wars geeks or the Star Wars convention? Only Star Wars convention. It's not even like Celebration. It's just Star Wars. And it just was, and the same thing. I was like, goosebumps, and the room erupted in cheers, and it was amazing.
So, yeah, that happened. And now we wait.
Yeah.
We still got half a year to go.
I don't want to wait. What else did we do this week?
What'd you do this weekend, Shaun? Might as well tell us.
Oh, we went to a con. That's what it
Did you watch anything before you went to the con, or since you got back?
We finished Archer Season 3, and I watched Game of Thrones. I don't think we got a movie in this week. I wanted to, but it just didn't happen, so...
How was the con?
The con was really pretty cool. Mel and I went to Starfest, in Denver, Colorado, which is about, I don't know, Google swears up and down it's an 8-hour drive. I've never made that drive in less than 10.
It's at least 9.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where Google.
Starfest, how old is this con?
30 plus years.
Yeah, it sounds like an old title for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Starfest.
Starfest.
Sounds like a 1980s con.
I joked because
It would be.
the way it's set up is you go to the website and they've got this ancient looking website that looks like it hasn't been updated in forever.
Since the 1980s.
You know,
Even before the internet.
when that was a thing, when the internet first came out.
Rec.arts.starfest.
So they've got
Howard
all they've got all these other festivals. There's a Who Fest, and there's a Klingon Fest, and there's a this fest and a this fest, blah, blah, blah. And what it really, on the surface, what it looks like happened is the city of Denver said, no, we don't want you crazy people roaming the streets in your costumes. You're going to get this thing organized. You're going to put it all under one roof, and you get one weekend. Do it all at the same time. So they did. And they literally, there's a programming track for just Doctor Who. There's a programming track for just Star Trek. There's a programming track for...
It's a really clever way to do it.
Yeah, they had a whole thing on model building. Like, there was a whole wing dedicated to, you can come in here and we've got model kits, and you pull them apart and start building stuff, and we'll show you how to paint it, we'll show you how to light it, we'll show you how to... And you just kept coming back for the next session if you wanted to do that. And then they put everything on display at the end, which was really cool. But I mean, they had all this kind of stuff going. They had, of course, we went for Richard Dean Anderson, who is one of Mel's absolute favorites, and he doesn't do a lot of cons. And so we were kind of lamenting that and trying to figure out after Planet Comic Con, it was like, okay, what do we got lined up on the docket for the rest of the year? Because we're kind of we're running out of money and got too many cons left to go. And we talked about doing the Stargate one in Chicago again because Carter, I can't think of her name, is going to be there, Carter. And, you know, she's like, okay, cool. She says, man, I really want to see Richard Dean Anderson. So just on a lark, what's Richard Dean Anderson up to? What's he doing? Oh, he's going to be at Starfest next month? What's Starfest? And that's kind of what kicked off this whole thing. So we went down there for that, and he was kind of the headline guy, but then they also had Armin Shimmerman and Max Grodenchek and Aaron Eisenberg, who were kind of the three main Ferengi from Deep Space Nine. It was Quark, Rom, and Nog. They had Terry Farrell, who played Dax on Deep Space Nine, was there. They had Mark Goddard from Lost in Space.
It's Goddard, isn't it?
Is it Goddard?
I think so.
The original Don West was there.
He's got to be old now.
Yeah. Yes. And So they just, I mean, they just kind of, it was just this con, and we kind of really didn't know what to expect. So we had kind of contingency plans A, B, C, and D going into the weekend, not really knowing what to do. As far as how packed is this going to be, how big a deal is it? We didn't think, I mean, just based on the website presence, we were kind of expecting maybe about galley size, but maybe a lot smaller. So, we're going to go ahead and get the room for these nights, but we'll, maybe we can leave and we'll go do something else. And if not, we'll get another night and, all that stuff. So we got down there, after a long and eventful drive, which I won't go into. We got down there Friday night for a meet and greet, which you had to pay extra for. Let me tell you this. If you get the opportunity, do the meet and greet. All day, every day, at any con you go to. I was so impressed with this one. They had everybody in a room at these round tables, and the guests rotated from table to table to table, so you got to spend, it was probably only about 5 minutes with each guest, and every time they would sound the ding, the guests would look up at the table like, no, I'm not done talking yet. Especially Richard Dean Anderson, who kind of moves at his own pace. So the handlers kept trying to move him over to the table, and we were talking hockey, so he wasn't moving. He was thrilled. You watch hockey? Oh yeah, I got a team back home. Oh really? We went on and on and on with that. That was a lot of fun. But so you got to meet each of the guests, and a couple of writers were there that I follow, Dayton Ward and Kevin. I can't remember his name. Kevin somebody. They write Star Trek books, which they were a blast to talk to. Side story, it's funny. Kevin, he still has a daytime job in Kansas City.
Oh.
At Hallmark. Apparently he writes cards for Hallmark, but he's also on the product launch design crew for all of the geek and sci-fi themed ornaments.
Ah.
So he was talking about different ones, and somebody mentioned the original Enterprise 1991 ornament that currently is going for $600, and I have one. And the fact that he says, here's a fun story for you. He says the original, the guy that sculpted that is still on staff and still does all the spaceships for him. But the original design print that Hallmark said is they wanted to take the Enterprise and Christmas it up. And he says, to the extent of they wanted garland to go around the saucer section. They wanted Christmas lights and a tree on the hangar
This
deck.
is in the early days, though, when they weren't stuff like that.
Yeah, they weren't authentic. So this was kind of a new deal. And Santa was supposed to be on the bridge doing this, doing the Vulcan salute out of the thing. He says, I kid you not, that's where they... And so he's, kind of going, oh my God, this was so horrible. And all of us at the table went, oh, that'd be so cool. And so he says, okay, so maybe we'll do a new line, like I'll do an alternate universe setup where, the original design or something, and we'll bring it out as a special, and we'll just go over it. We'll put red bows on it. And I said, ooh, you could put a wreath around the navigational deflector. And he goes, ooh, yeah, that's a... So,
You gave him some nice ideas then.
Well, and I asked him, I said, do you take requests? And he says, I'm always up for suggestions. What do you got in mind? I said, Flash Gordon.
Oh, yes.
And he goes, oh, now you talking original? I said, well, the 1980 is where it's at. And he thought for a minute. He says, I don't think we could do character sculpts on that one. But he says, I'd love to do a line of retro 50s Flash Gordon style rocket ships. And everybody at the table went, ooh. So if you're in a Hallmark store this Christmas and you see a retro Flash Gordon rocket ship, right here, this guy, my idea.
It might not be this year because at Planet Comic-Con, Hallmark actually had a booth.
Oh, did they?
Previewing
I didn't even see
some
that.
of the ornaments. It was like in the far corner, previewing some of the ornaments for 2015.
Okay, well, maybe it'll be next
and
year.
And they actually had some of them. One of them is Dr. Zaius. So they're continuing the Planet of the Apes line.
But, so he was very, very excited over that. But the meet and greet was a lot of fun. It was very cool. And then Saturday we got up, and first thing we got Richard Dean Anderson's autograph, which was very cool. And he was a delight and a lot of fun and very much more closely aligned with his character from SG-1 than MacGyver. In fact, they had a little placard at his table that said, due to the difficulty in signing certain items, Richard is unable to sign fabrics, knives, or duct tape. And somebody asked him at his panel, they said, so, do you catch a lot of grief he goes, oh, he says every day. He says the cable repair guy, the mechanic, everything is, well, can't you fix it? Aren't you MacGyver? And he's like, I'm paying you. Get over here and fix this. But he was a lot of fun. I mean, everybody was delight. Everybody was really friendly. And apparently, why can I not think of her name? Carter. She was there last year. And they have such a friendly environment and friendly staff, and it's a big family kind of atmosphere. Again, kind of like Galley. And we talked to people who said, this is my 29th one. Samantha. Well, no, Samantha Carter's her real name, or her character name.
Oh, you're right. Amanda Tapping?
Amanda Tapping. Thank you. God, that was going to bug me.
You kept saying Carter. I was giving you Carter's name.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's Samantha Carter, but Amanda Tapping. She was there last year. And like I said, we talked to people who, this is their 29th one. Wow. They just keep coming back. And we talked to, there was a lady in the hot tub, and she says, well, we said, was this your daughter? Because the kid was playing in the hot tub and jumping back and forth in the pool. And she goes, oh, no, that's her daughter. Like, oh, friend of the family? She goes, no. She says, I've known her since, she was in Mom's tummy because we've been coming to the con all this time. So I see him every year. Really? Okay. But apparently because of that kind of environment and that kind of friendly staff and everything, when Amanda Tapping was there last year, and they've been trying to get Richard to come out for years, she got him on the phone and said, dude, you need to go to Denver. You need to go try this con out. And he finally came out, and he was blown away by how great and, he was really impressed with it. So that was, cool. This is a neat little thing. They had, over in the model builder section, they had not one, not two, but 3 robots from Lost in Space.
Wow.
Full size, automated, neon lights flashing, voice activated, swiveling, arms jumping out with the claw pincer things going on. It's like, I wasn't even a huge Lost in Space fan, and I was like, that is so cool. A pretty good dealer's room. And then in the second part of the hotel was kind of the big atrium lobby, and all of the rooms had balconies that looked out onto the atrium. And there was apparently a decorate your balcony contest. All the Klingons got rooms together and had changed the lighting. Like, they all brought red light bulbs and replaced all of the bulbs on the thing. So there was this whole floor that was nothing but red and Klingon banners hanging over the thing. And it was like, this is, wow, these guys take this seriously. More cosplay than I have ever seen at any con as far as variety. You had Star Trek, you had Star Wars, you had Disney, you had, they had Doctor Who, they had anime, they had furries, which I still don't get. They had horror, they had, just anything and everything you could possibly dress up as, people dressed up as.
Nice.
It was unreal. And it was all good. It was all really good. Video games. It was all really good costuming. But it was just like everywhere you looked, your brain was struggling to keep up with that's from that, that's from that, that's from this, just because there was so much of it. The Ferengis were a delight. I have heard of them at several different cons just being, amazing and funny, and they're all great friends. And that was certainly true here, to the point where we had to go buy additional tickets because there was a program they put on called Brotherly Love. And it was Armin Shimmerman and Max Gronchek who played Quark and Rom, who were brothers on Deep Space Nine. And apparently Max is quite the lyricist. And he would write new lyrics. He was kind of pulling a Weird Al. He would write new lyrics to songs. And it became a challenge because as they were sitting in their makeup trailers at 2 a.m. getting stuff glued onto their heads for 4 hours, he would start singing. And the idea that apparently had started was he wanted to try and get Armin Shimmerman to break and crack up in the chair, thus delaying the makeup process. So that was how it started. It was just, what can I do to get Armin to laugh? And he started singing to him and all these wacky lyrics. Well, Armin fell in love with it and was like, you got to write that. You got to record that song. You got to do this. So he started, okay. So they did this whole stage show where he would come out and sing. And they would trade off, and some of them were duets, and some of them were one of the other, where he sang all these 40 some odd songs that he's been writing and doing, and they were hysterical. It was just an absolute riot. I've got some video which I'll show you guys at some point, but they were just really funny, and the nicest people, and very grateful for what they've had and their success and everything. So it was really cool. And by Sunday at noon, I think we kind of figured that we've seen everything we wanted to see. We've done everything we wanted to do. I mean, we could hang out till the end of the day and enjoy the rest of the con, but we're kind of done. So let's take off. So we left and packed up, and there was still enough ice and snow coming down that we didn't make it to Frisco, which is kind of my end goal. That's where I'm going to wind up, which is about an hour west of Denver. But instead, we headed south and went down to Colorado Springs and visited the Air Force Academy and kind of did a Stargate pilgrimage because they shot some of the show down there. And so I was showing Mel, this is, and went to the Cadet Chapel, which is the most gorgeous building ever built. It's just such yeah, I love the architecture in that building. I'm kind of an architecture nut anyway, and that thing is just amazing. And then we asked, because apparently NORAD's not there anymore. Right. It's, I mean, the facility's still there, but they don't really use it as much. It's more of kind of a training facility.
NORAD doesn't use it. It's actually a storage vault now. In fact, Warner Brothers has stuff there. I think there's different companies that store data there. Yeah. Well, the bunker itself is still in existence, and the lower levels are storage. And I believe as I understand it, the Air Force still uses it kind of as like a backup control room for training purposes. Sure. But it's not really. Everything's been. I mean, because it was built in the '60s, and technology is just, which kind of made me sad because war games. That's where it is. But also, obviously, in the basement is the Stargate, because it was underneath NORAD in the series. Apparently, as a joke, there is a broom closet that's labeled Stargate Command on the inside of the thing. But we kind of thought, well, the tunnel entrance on the outside, the one that says Cheyenne Mountain Complex. Right. We thought it'd be kind of cool if we could get over there and take a picture of that. Now, I know I'm not going to get on base. I know I'm not going to get anywhere near the mountain itself. And I'm fairly certain that this thing is so far inside a gated, wooded area with dogs and that I'm not even going to, even with my telephoto zoom, I'm not going to get a shot of it. But we thought we'd ask. And so I kind of presented it, and I explained, this is going to sound goofy, but we're doing a Stargate weekend. We just came from this con, and then we came here. We'd like to go there. And she went, not going to happen. It's like... And she says, nah. She says, you can't get near that gate. She says, I was like, oh. She goes, I know. We get a lot of requests. It's not a stupid question, actually. I said, really? She goes, yep. She says, Stargate War Games. We get people asking all the time, where's that at? You can't get there. Okay. Well, good to know. But then we went down to Garden of the Gods. I'm sure you've been there. I have never been to Garden of the Gods. It's one of those things, all these childhood trips to Colorado, and I think my grandparents and my mom kind of all thought, most of Colorado Springs is kind of a tourist trap. It really is. Which it really is. But there's a lot of cool free stuff to do. And Garden of the Gods is free. I mean, they got gift shops that they're going to sucker you in all kinds of stuff. But I mean, it's free. Air Force Base is free. Seven Falls is free. Well, after that con, I was quite happy for free because I spent way more money than I planned on. Even pre-buying all my tickets, I spent more money than I planned on. So we went there, and it was still trying really hard to snow. So we had our jackets and did the hike and everything, and then came back. And we were kind of getting concerned because we really wanted to do more. But it was like, what time does the sun set tonight? So we're Googling this. We're standing out there on the butte, in the middle of the Googling, what time is the sun set? And it's 6:45. We looked at the clock, and 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Okay, we've got about an hour. Well, we keep going. It's like, yeah, but wait a minute. It's cloudy, and I can't see the sunset, and I don't want to get lost in Garden of the Gods after dark. We'd be one of those stories they talk about on the news. Local couple dies in freak snowstorm. So we went back to the hotel, but then wound up going back the next day. It was beautiful weather, and kind of hiked around and did some more stuff. Got some fantastic shots. And so did you stay in Colorado Springs? Or did you drive back to Denver? No. We spent Sunday night in Colorado Springs. Unfortunately, we had such a good time, we didn't leave as early as we should have. So we hit the road about 4, and then that 10-hour drive kicked in and didn't get home until about 1:30. Which is why we're recording this late. So I apologize. It's my fault.
But yeah, had a great weekend, and it just kind of, I was telling Keith earlier, just kind of renews my soul to go to the mountains. I'm like the TARDIS. I soak up all that energy and you know, I got to get back there. I feel better. I'm happier. I love mountains. So had a great weekend. A lot of
Sounds
fun.
like it.
Cool. All right,
More pictures coming. I haven't got them all.
Should we move on to news?
This is what I'm going to do when we go to Planet Comic-Con. I'm giving Mel the camera. Because I feel like I don't take near enough cosplay photos.
Yeah.
I want to. I just don't. And I realized part of it is that kind of weird, hey, there's a cute chick and I'm a creepy guy. Can I get your photo? I mean, not that that's what it is, but that's what it feels like, you know? Mel's fearless. She just runs up to people. Can I get a photo? Oh, yeah, sure. And she took 9 zillion photographs this weekend. I'm still, only day one of the con is posted at this point on our Facebook because I'm still sorting through photos.
Oh, my.
So more are coming. But yeah, I'm just going to, that's actually what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to sort and catalog photos.
All right, what do we got going on in news?
Well, if you remember not that long ago, we talked about BBC packaging up some Cybermen stories and releasing them on DVD. They're doing that with Daleks. July 14th, there will be a Dalek set coming out. The stories include Dalek, Stolen Earth, and Journey's End, Asylum of the Daleks, and Into the Dalek. So, no Series 3 with Martha's two-parter. And then the bonus feature is Genesis of the Daleks, which is still available on DVD, isn't it?
Yes.
So I wonder if that's going to be going on moratorium now.
Oh, buy your copies now.
And then another featurette about Dalek origin. So
I love the Daleks, but I just don't
You're not
like
gonna
these
buy that
box sets. No, there's no reason for me to. The only reason I'm tempted to buy the Cybermen one is just for that one episode. And for that matter, I could probably get the Doctors Revisited cheaper. So
that's true. Yep, so that's coming. Keep an eye out for that if you want it. In other kind of head-scratching news, in my opinion, Doctor Who is coming to Disney XD in North America. On Saturday, May 9th, they will air New Earth. And then they're going to have an Adventures in Time and Space weekend, Saturday, June 13th. And then I guess it's going to go for a full week, not a weekend, through the June 20th, doing David Tennant's Run of the Doctor, beginning at 9 p.m., it looks like. So it's kind of interesting.
it is interesting. I was a little perplexed that they didn't just buy the first season and run those as well. But
Yeah. Why David Tennant's Run? I don't know.
Because he's cute. What's the
it's the tween target.
what's the phrase? What's the new
Subtly cute? Subtly cute?
subtly cute?
I don't think David Tennant's subtly anything.
I didn't think it was subtly. Maybe it was.
I said sub. Yeah, it was subtly.
Yeah, back it up. What did we say?
Hang on. I wrote it down in my phone slot.
Subtly cute. Okay, we found that out.
So yeah, that's coming too.
Because if you haven't bought him on Blu-ray or DVD or
Well,
If you haven't seen him on BBC,
or seen him on
it's-
Sci-Fi,
to
or
be
BBC
fair,
America.
it's to get-
BBC
it's
America,
to get-
isn't it? Like,
Huh?
isn't it basically the same tier of channels that you would get XD that you do
don't know.
BBC?
No.
I don't subscribe.
Is it lower?
Yes,
Okay.
at least
I'm
when,
just mad at
it's-
Disney XD
it's-
for not renewing Tron.
it's an
and
attempt-
Uprising.
we're still upset over
It's
that.
an attempt to get it in front of younger fans that haven't
Yeah,
necessarily
it's-
cottoned onto the series yet.
They wouldn't join on BBC America, so.
So,
But it's interesting that such a kind of a later time, anyways.
does this mean that whole Doctor Who theme park thing might have a little more validity, even though that was a
Could be
Paramount
now.
thing and now
Well,
it's a Disney thing?
I think it's something that I suspected was kind of quelched this week. So with our next bit of news,
And as part of the Sony WikiLeaks major leak debacle that happened, for some reason now, I guess it's because WikiLeaks posted all of the details.
yeah, everything's there now.
So it wasn't just little bits of.
It's easier to
in there.
peruse the.
Yeah. Sony had a Doctor Who film as part of an 8-year plan of some sort.
It was at least
Oh,
in
that!
talks.
A Doctor Who
It was
film.
in talks.
I saw
Yeah,
a
in
blurb
talks.
about that, but I was in Denver and didn't read it. So there was a legit that whole thing about David,
what's his face?
Harry Potter director,
Yeah.
talking might have actually had some weight to it.
Yates.
Huh?
Probably
David Yates.
Yates.
Yeah, it's probably based off of these conversations. She had this. I'm trying to sort through the president of internal production had a conversation with the director of BBC Television. They said that there's been a tremendous interest and pressure from BBC worldwide to do a Doctor Who film. The showrunners feel very clear that they don't want to do one at the moment. That said, over the course of the coming months, the show's running team is coming up with an 8-year timeline for the brand, which is where we got the 5-year reference a couple weeks ago for the show's going to go for 5 more years at least. That's part of that same conversation, I'm assuming. Laying out what will happen with it, and then the film will certainly be a part of that timeline. So they answer that a film won't happen in the next year to 18 months, but it is expected that it will happen after that within the 8-year horizon.
Let's be
what-
careful
is
here
according
because
to-
I want to presume something about this. Is I think that the only reason that Sony is connected right now in this whole conglomeration is I think that the idea is that there are a lot of studios that want to do the film. They want the rights. And the unfortunate situation with the Sony link is that Sony had the evidence of it being in talks, but I don't think they were anywhere close to having a deal with Sony. I have a feeling if they do it, they'll shop it around. And it makes me also wonder if Disney, in order to get a foot in the door, makes this deal with BBC to show that, they want some clout. They want to say, we can bring viewers to this and we
at our
can
viewing
treat it
numbers
right.
already.
And by putting on Disney XD, that already indoctrinates the Disney kids into already their love of the show. So I think that I bet Warner Brothers is interested because they held the distribution rights in the United States for years.
You know who's not interested? Fox.
They're probably interested now because
Well, I almost
become so big
guarantee
again.
that Universal's probably somewhere in that mix as well because they still have some sort of residual rights to the TV movie. So I have a feeling that the reason I wouldn't get your hopes up that Sony's doing a Doctor Who movie based on this leak. I think what it is their talks just happened to get released in that leak.
Yeah.
So I think probably in the
Well, it
next
sounds like
10
it
years...
was very, very informal discussion.
I think in the next 10 years or less, we'll probably get an announcement about one of the major studios getting on board. I think it's just depending on how it plays out.
Okay, now I'm going to play a little Black Rain Cloud for a moment because normally the idea of a Doctor Who movie, as originally presented as part of what we thought might have been going on, sounded ridiculous and stupid. Doing it in this form as
part of an 8-year plan.
part of a genuine structured part of the show, okay, I'm a little more okay with. But if you take the 5-year plan piece from Moffat's conversation, that going to run 5 years, you take the 8-year plan from this. Is it outside the realm of possibility that maybe BBC is looking at running Doctor Who another 3, 4, 5 years and then ending the show
And try to launch it as a
so
movie
that they
franchise?
can launch it as a movie franchise? Which terrifies me, quite honestly. Just not that I wouldn't want to see Doctor Who movies, which would be kind of cool, but I unfortunately, the runaway success of the 50th kind of proved that they can do it. That there is some interest there, and if they broaden that base and get some muscle behind it, like Disney, that's not outside the realm of reality happening. I don't know that that's the best format for it. Doctor Who's a TV show. It's
But it's already delved into the realm of film-like by taking a year off and making 4 specials that were considerably longer than an episode.
and we've had
So,
longer episodes. We've had anniversary specials. We've
Yeah.
had
So,
theatrical releases.
I think the thing is that the program is going to evolve one way or another, and this is probably just one of the many avenues in which they're looking at.
Hopefully
it can't last forever on television. It can't. We've been there and done that. We know that. I mean, I still think we're lucky to have had it around again for 10 years. And with the BBC kind of setting in stone that we're going to at least get 15 years of New Who on television, that's just that astounds me. If you'd asked me that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have said, no, there's no way this is going to hold out as long as I want it to. Don't get me wrong, I want it to. But I think that the reality of it is in order to keep it viable, it's going to have to evolve. And that's the direction. That's Hollywood wants to do franchise films. They've proven that that's how filmmaking is going to be now. We've got 7 Fast and Furious films, for crying out loud. Universal's relaunching its Universal Monsters brand. MGM still has still continues to reinvent James Bond every 3 years. And Marvel is the game changer for franchise films. Everybody wants to be Marvel. So
and who picked up Dark Tower? What did I just read? This week?
Yeah, that's right. That was this week too.
It was TV, wasn't it, or was it a movie?
No, it was that combined.
It's the combined thing that they've been trying to do.
It
was
Was it Universal?
Gaynor. Rob Gaynor was.
Or was it Sony
this week? I think it was Sony.
I think it was Sony, which kind of disappointed me a little bit because I don't.
Maybe that could have came out of the WikiLeaks stuff too. If you didn't look,
no, it sounded like that was
a relatively
more
recent
of
announcement.
Unless they knew that information was in the WikiLeaks, and so they went ahead and just got ahead of it.
Yeah.
So,
because I remember thinking Sony didn't feel quite right for that particular, but
they screwed up Spider-Man.
Yeah,
although they continue to do good things with Bond. So I mean,
it should be Warner Brothers. I'm sorry, that's my pick. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there, not to be the little black rain cloud, but to be the black rain cloud. Do we want to see Doctor Who movies every 3 years?
Yes, but not now.
I don't know if I want to go that far between Doctor Who content. You think the wilderness months now are bad?
Well,
between Christmas and Series 9, and
is there do we get?
Don't even equate it. You don't even know what you're talking about, Keith. You don't even know.
Do we?
Neither do you. You were discovering episodes you hadn't
but
seen
I was
before.
rediscovering In the Wilderness years. So I was still longing for it to be back on television.
I don't know.
I hit the Wilderness years about 6 years late. That's all. I still suffered through 10 years of it.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What else we got?
We nearly had Brian Blessed in Series 9. So there's an announcement.
And when Keith put this on the show notes for the show, I had to point to the fact that everybody else is focusing on who's the actor that's been hired.
So they've announced that David Schofield has been cast in Series 9 for 2 of the episodes.
So every other Doctor Who fandom is focusing on the fact that Schofield's been hired as a villain to play a villain.
A character. Do we know he's a villain?
I thought I read that. Anyway, to play a character in Doctor Who. And we zeroed right in on the fact that the reason he was chosen is because Brian Blessed had to turn it down because of recent illness. And so to us, it became Brian Blessed was almost in Doctor Who again.
And the role, according the name of the role is Odin.
Oh, that's right.
So
it wasn't
imagine
a villain. It
Brian
was
Blessed as Odin. I don't care if it's wasn't even going to be a period piece. Brian Blessed as Odin. Such a missed opportunity.
He's actually playing the Norse god.
It's
I don't
speculation.
know how they're going to do that.
It's speculation that he's the Norse god.
If you're going to bring Brian Blessed back, let him be King Ykranos. Let's go back and let's do that.
Yeah, bring Perry back too. Wouldn't it be great if the Doctor was able to really kind of find out for sure what happened to Perry? Because,
What
it
really
still was
happened
even left
instead
in the, this is what happened to her, but he didn't see it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure Moffat's thinking to himself, as much as I love time travel, that's a little too specific fanboyish for, new viewers are like, who is this person and why do I care?
He's done more fanboyish. He's gone more fanboyish on us than I ever expected Moffat would. Davis, when he started the series out with autons that were most people had not even seen for 30 years. It just, Davis, I went, wow, okay, this guy's a fanboy, but Moffat, I thought, nah, he won't do that. Oh, okay, well, you're going to mention that. Oh, you're going to bring back the Great Intelligence. Nobody's seen that at all. Those don't even exist anymore.
He knew.
Well, yes, but...
So the episode are the ones with Maisie Williams.
It's the two-part of the girl who died and the girl who lived or something like that.
The girl who died and the woman who lived.
Woman who lived, yeah. What else?
Time Eddie Hotel block has sold out.
Yay!
The first
One
block.
block down, 2 to go.
Right? For sure?
Theoretically. Yeah.
Well, it's 1 to go, and they'll add a block if they need to.
There may be a third block if fans demand it. So if you are thinking about coming to Time Eddie, you should probably get on that.
I was actually this knowing that the hotel is doing so well and they've got a really good rate. Originally, I think I'd mentioned that I was probably going to stay with family since I have family in Wichita. I think I'm on the cusp now of thinking, I think maybe I'll stay at the hotel just so that I can be close.
There's probably some great, actor interactions that can happen
like
there, too.
Galley.
Well, like Galley, you run into him in the hallway and ride the elevator with him.
Or you might
Or the back, you'll be on their pee
you
schedule.
might be on the same pee schedule with somebody.
Who will be at this convention also.
Taking a bathroom break with. That'd be great if I got on a bathroom break again with Michael Jaston.
Oh, that was Michael Jason, wasn't it? I thought it was Stephen Thorne. Never mind. He's not going to be there.
I was peeing with the Valley Yard.
Yeah. I got the two confused. Speaking of convention...
Yeah, but they couldn't I couldn't announce Jaston soon. So.
I had a joke there. I'm not going to go.
So get your hotels booked for Time Eddie. Another convention has added another...
If you're going, if you're in the area.
If you're going.
If you're not going, don't book a hotel room. Leave it for those of us that haven't done it yet.
Mark and Alex. How soon I forget. I'm sorry, guys. Mark and Alex, I've heard they're booking flights to come over to go Time.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
They should.
So
Yeah.
they're coming over together.
We'll see you guys there.
They live just down the street from each other. They don't see each other for like 6 months at a time, but they're going to make a point to get together.
They're going to have a reunion at the airport. They'll catch up on the plane. They'll have a really long flight, and they can listen to all these backlogged episodes that they haven't got to yet.
That's the way to steal the number one fan title from Chrissy.
Ooh, yeah.
Is to come over to Time Eddie and see us. That would be...
That's
Rachel said she might try to
Yeah.
come. So
she's close enough. She
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah, she really could.
within 10 hours. So 11 hours.
Our final bit of news, Li Who has added Gemma Redgrave to
Woo!
the lineup. So,
Yay.
yay! That's it for news.
I don't mean to poo-poo Li-Who. I'd be more excited if I knew I was going.
Oh,
You know?
Yeah.
That's I think kind of where it's like, yeah, it's in New York, and it's like, well, it's not any further than L.A. It's just the other direction. But it's in the winter in New York. It's cold versus Galley, which is
In the winter,
LA.
but warm.
Oh, and it's only like a month after Time Eddie, too. So
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah. Yeah, no, now that I'm doing Time Eddie, I won't be able to get to Chicago TARDIS this year like I had originally planned.
But that's okay.
Yeah, we have our own. We have our own. My prayers have been answered.
Shall we move on to our Doctor Who legacy?
Tip of the week.
Why don't we?
Okay.
Do you not want to?
Yes, let's do
We
it.
could hold this and do it at the end if you wanted to.
No, this is where Keith puts it in the show notes. So every
You
week.
put it in.
I think
You
I initially
established it at
did,
this point.
but then every week since then I've forgotten and I've almost skipped over it every time. You always go, no wait,
Because I got my show notes.
no
pulled up
wait,
here, but
I do too, and apparently I don't pay attention to it.
you
Keith
let your
goes,
screen go
Keith,
inactive.
Keith, oh,
I'm the rudder on this ship.
well, that's just it. Keith
I don't always do a good job, but I
painstakingly
do
puts
it.
together our episode show notes every week, and I try to skip them every time.
I don't even bother looking at them.
You just follow along.
I just
I can put
you-
whatever bias news
You
I
just
want
wait
in
until the
show
tape
notes.
beeps to change the film projector.
It's called a cigarette burn. Yeah, if you're the rudder on the ship, I'm the
Wayward traveler.
you're
He's
the
in
rudder.
the lifeboat.
Yeah.
He's a dinghy being pulled behind.
That we had to throw a life preserver to the rescue.
I'm the
He's the
castaway
man overboard.
on the island over there going, "Hey!" No, I was just going to say, you're the rudder, he's the captain, and I'm the anchor. It's like you dragging us down and grinding us to a halt. And, dead weight. I don't know why you don't throw me overboard as it
We
is.
just reel that anchor in. We'd get a lot further.
Sometimes
All right.
we have to.
Because
What
I'm
is our
clinging to
legacy
things on
tip
the
of the week
bottom
this
going,
week?
no, I want to talk about this some more.
Time Lord Ben tweeted
They're
us.
like those barnacles that we're trying to peel off the bottom.
He said
I'm the
Just
iceberg.
keeps hanging on. The iceberg.
But too soon?
I watched the end of that again this week.
What?
Watched the end of Titanic again. When she's on this stupid door.
Why? Why do you torture
I
yourself?
don't know why. I'll never let go, Jack. I'll never let go. She lets go.
When they both
Empty
get a fit on
promises.
the door.
Empty
of
promises.
life.
And they both would have fit on that dang door.
Macbeth
of
of
life,
Stars
Glenn.
proved that a long time ago.
Never let go of life.
She doesn't say live. She just, I'll never let go.
Like Birdman,
Never let go.
it was a metaphor.
I'll never let go, Jack. I'll never let go.
Until I get too cold. And then I let go.
Hater. He was already dead at that point.
And I kept thinking this one time maybe they won't hear her, but they do. They come back.
Dear Cameron's making a sequel. It's the Titanic 2, the air pocket.
And Jack sucked down into it, lives, comes
Yeah.
back. Zombie Jack.
Pissed she let go.
I think the aliens from Abyss rescued him, kept him alive,
Oh.
let him breathe the water.
You know, Benthic Petroleum has made a cameo in all of Cameron's other movies. That is entirely plausible.
What's our tip of the week?
Tip of the week.
I'm going to go write some fan
How
fiction.
much of this show do I have to edit this week?
This is good stuff.
Time Lord Ben tweeted us. He said, "Make sure your health is full when entering the second wave of the heart fragment
Heat fragment.
level.
Heat
They-
fragments. They've added a fragment this
Yeah,
week.
they hit first, and then he also recommends.
Oh, that one. Yes. Took me a minute to. Yes, he's absolutely right. Because there's nothing more. Not only do they hit first, it's like the level starts and it goes, and you lose most of your health. And then it's time to start thinking about what you're going to do. I was like, wow, that sucks. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He also tweeted us saying, unlock the fan area and play the level experimental relative dimension every week. Every Thursday, it pays one time crystal every week. It is a level 50 level in the fan area. So,
And it's a
keep that
long
in
one,
mind.
too, if I remember correctly.
It is.
But that's, if you've got a tank team, you go in there and get a time crystal every week. That's worth it.
And that's our Doctor Who legacy.
Tip of the week.
I finished Bigger on the Inside.
Oh,
Well, what we have of it. Apparently, they're releasing it in waves.
more,
It didn't occur to me
Chapters
until I
coming.
got to the end and went, "This isn't over." Are you guys done with Bigger on the Inside?
no,
yet?
Yeah.
I'm still stuck at where I've been.
I got worried because you said you were stuck and you said you hadn't played much, and I thought, oh gosh, maybe this is really hard. And then I finished and went, "Is that it? Why is Keith so stuck?"
I'm just stuck on a level. I don't know why I'm either, Glenn.
Because you don't have everybody maxed out like
Yeah,
I do.
that's
I'm
true.
playing
But
with everybody on my team every time it's level 50. I'm not getting any experience points because I keep playing with level 50 team. Everybody across the board.
Well, that's the
but-
thing. I think I need to level up some other characters
Yeah.
because the ones I have, I'm entering that level with full, and it's still not happening.
Yeah.
You might need to just change out that one guy.
Well, maybe I don't know.
I think I heard that on a tip somewhere.
I got to that level and I thought, okay, I'll be ready to change this one out. And I never got my health down far enough from the poison to matter, so I just didn't even ever heal myself. Well, I never even healed poison because I didn't need to. My teams are pretty well designed in the fact that I've got a lot of healers on the team. So even if I'm getting dinged every time by a poison, I'm never getting far enough down that I can't just regenerate my health. So
I just blamed the 10th Doctor. It's a level where I have to have him as my
Yeah,
doctor.
that hasn't affected me either. I'm not. I sound like I'm bragging, but it wasn't as difficult as I.
You are such a bragger.
It wasn't as difficult as I had made it up in my mind from based on your guys' stories.
I'm probably not as strategic of a player either.
Just because
No,
we
that's
don't have
strategic.
everybody maxed out.
I say that, but maybe because I've played so much that I've just gotten.
I did walk away from it for quite a while too.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
nice.
sorry, I shouldn't have closed
Yeah.
that. I'm so used to after I've seen it once closing the.
See, I hadn't seen that new notification because I've been playing some
What
and
did it
noticing
say?
the ads.
Oh
and-
yeah, you've been noticing the ads, so you had to go in and toggle those
I
off.
did not know that was how you got rid of them.
Yeah, the actually there has been. I was listening to Sue on something, maybe it was Twitch TV last week on the Adipose TV, and she was saying that they've had so many fans that have paid for the game that requested that they see the ads because they want to do a little bit more to support the game. That's why they put the toggle switch in there, so that if you have paid for the fan area, but you do want to see the ads because you do want to support the game financially, you can turn those ads on. There might be something there you'll click on
I'm sure.
and go by.
Yeah.
Doctor Who fans, we salute you.
Yeah, no kidding.
You guys are the coolest
This is
people
the most
ever.
amazing. Yeah, that's it. I'm all the way to the top. So
You're at
Not a lot
556
there.
stars.
yeah, well, still not anywhere close to Time Lord Ben.
Well, good.
All right,
Somebody needs to knock you off your totem pole.
enough legacy talk.
Never.
Feedback, and we have one bit of feedback.
Which, as soon as this comes back up, I will happily read out.
Should I just read it?
Maybe. Oh, wait, no.
Got it.
I'm sorry. I had it all pulled up. It's been ready to go for like an hour.
And then he went over to Doctor Legacy, and it
I,
bogged everything down.
I clicked the link in the email, and it took it away. Okay, I'm ready. This is from Chrissy, who writes, "The game is afoot." I thought it was a game.
I got
That
it.
one missed the mark, didn't it?
Just a little bit. Dear Vortex boys.
Wait.
I deserve that.
You're welcome, Keith.
And the throwback joke of the week goes to... Wow, what was that?
We're
like?
gonna have to start
I don't even remember what
we're gonna have to
episode
start
that
putting
was.
episode references into shows.
You bring back the ding.
No.
Dear Vortex boys, when did you guys record last week? I wrote that feedback on Monday thinking you had recorded Sunday night and it would be for this week's podcast. I guess I'm glad it made it in time. We knew as our number one fan that
Who was making up for lost time?
we had to get it in there, Chrissy.
We know how busy you are, Chrissy, so we waited on you.
Yeah, apparently wedding proposals. We got this week.
I'd seen that.
Okay.
Two of them, right? She
Yeah.
got two.
Two.
On a blog post.
Never
that she
rains,
wrote.
but it pours.
Yeah.
I look really good in a tux, Chrissy. I'm just saying. If you need a best man or a bridesmaid.
He looks good in a dress, too. Not that I would know. Wait a minute, that sounded bad.
That opened the door.
I would totally rock that fuchsia number. The Hound
Just
of...
remember, pink is not his color.
No, fuchsia.
So I said pink's not your color.
Pink is not my color. Fuchsia. I don't know. I've worn pink. I used to have
It's still not your color, but
Just because you've worn it doesn't make it your color, Sean.
I think I can get away with just about anything. Really nothing. Yellow. I don't look good in
except for
yellow.
pink.
No, yellow. I don't look good in yellow. Which really upset me because, Command Gold just doesn't quite... I can't... I look sickly. I look like I have jaundice. I can't do it. Okay, review time.
Chris will have another email in by the time we get to her first one.
Probably. The Hound of the Baskervilles. First of all, it was hard for me to get my mind wrapped around the fact that Tom Baker was playing someone other than the Doctor. As I watched this, I just kept thinking, he's the Doctor. Watson is his companion. The TARDIS is somewhere out behind 221 Baker Street. Second, the main room at the Baskerville estate looks a lot like the sitting room in Black Orchid. Third,
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Caroline John is in this. Liz Shaw from the first season of the Third Doctor's era. Third point two, script editor Terrence Dix and producer Barry Letts. Fourth, there's a crap load of Doctor Who connects with this. But I guess that's just restating the obvious. It's a basic BBC period piece, which is something they always do quite well. Straight up adaptation of classic literature, something which they evidently took more pride than they ever did for Doctor Who in the 1980s. Still pretty enjoyable, but not something I want to run out and buy, which makes me glad it was available on YouTube. Anyway, that's all from me. Have a fun week, boys. Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
P.S. Here's how you say pomposity. And she included a YouTube link. Aren't you glad you keep me around? I help you expand your vocabulary. Are you going to...
I can play it. You want me to play?
Yeah, go for it. This is what I left to go look up.
It's loading.
It takes a minute. There it is.
Yeah, and then it's got a little intro video to play.
Here comes.
It will load.
Wow.
There we go.
Pomposity.
She still says it better.
Anything you can do, I can do better. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy. And that's it for feedback.
So I'm guessing from the lack of feedback from most of our regulars that nobody went out on the YouTubes and searched out this gem of Sir Conan Arthur Doyle's.
And that's all right, because we're going to talk about it. So we'll get their impressions from our impressions, I suppose. Do you have a synopsis?
There's a dog.
Very good.
There's a really big dog.
Tom Baker stars for the BBC as Sherlock Holmes in this faithful classic serial adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's most celebrated story. Holmes investigates the suspicious death of Sir Charles Baskerville at the behest of Baskerville's friend, Dr. Mortimer.
That's it?
That's what IMDb
That's right.
Wow.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun. So, I know I've seen Hound of the Baskervilles with Basil Rathbone.
Okay.
You know, the original, and some would say definitive edition. Because my grandpa was a huge, they loved everything British, but he was a huge Sherlock fan. And I saw it at their house as a kid. Now, there were a lot of things that I watched at Grandma and Grandpa's house as a kid. I remember watching the original King Kong and being absolutely terrified. I remember watching the original Terminator and Grandma making me cover my eyes during the sex parts, but not during the violence or the language.
That's true American there.
Yeah,
True American.
There's going to be some boobs here in a minute. You're not allowed to look at those. Okay. I can watch this, but not that. All right. But, so I know I've seen this story. I'll be darned if I remembered any of it as this thing unspooled. It was just
My
like...
best knowledge of it is probably from the most recent Sherlock.
Which is changed pretty substantially.
Yeah, large.
Yeah.
I mean, the structure's still there. But,
still there, but...
So it was kind of all new to me. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I agree with Chrissy. I kept... it opens, and the way it's shot, it feels like an episode of Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A classic Gothic 70s Tom Baker era Doctor Who
Quite
episode.
frankly, though, I agree with that point 100%, except the only thing not very Doctor Who about this is Tom Baker. I think that he stepped away from the Doctor role and really convinced me that he was Sherlock Holmes.
See, I wasn't as convinced.
I wasn't either.
I felt like it was Tom Baker. As much as I enjoy him as
still
the
saw a lot of
Doctor.
Tom Baker, but I did not see a lot of Fourth Doctor.
Well, the difference is it's kind of grumpy Fourth Doctor.
Here's
It's a bit more serious Fourth Doctor.
Here's the
There's not
difference.
those great fun moments for him to
To
have.
me, it was Tom Baker in Tom Baker interviews. Is what it
Okay,
was.
yeah, I could see that.
Here's the difference.
A bit pompous, a bit
Pomposity.
self-serving. Yeah.
Here's the difference. Tom Baker as the Doctor delivers these great lines of dialogue. with a smile at the end of them. Tom Baker as Sherlock Holmes delivers these great lines of dialogue. And that's it.
As Sherlock Holmes. That's what
it's still. I sat there and watched this, and I just thought to myself, I mean, we've heard the allegory before from Moffat and others. These two characters really are cut from the same cloth. They're both very brilliant. They're both in love with the sound of their own voice to a certain extent.
Yeah.
They both love being the smartest person in the room, and they both love kind of berating you just a little bit for you not being as smart as they are.
Yeah.
You know,
I would agree.
And the difference is the Doctor always does it with a yeah, and Sherlock's just no, you got it wrong, and that's really the only difference. I watched, and I don't mean to take anything away from Tom Baker's performance because he was very good. And I think the hair more than anything.
Maybe it's because the Fourth Doctor then is
really,
so much, so much like Sherlock Holmes. Maybe that's why.
Well, and it almost felt like some of that later, his last season portrayal of the Fourth Doctor.
You think?
A little bit.
It's certainly the closest to.
Yeah, and it's definitely not
time-wise.
It's definitely not early. It's not early Fourth Doctor at all by any stretch of the imagination. It's when he gets kind of a bit grumpier later down the road, I think. Which. It's interesting. Apparently, Tom Baker thought he failed to deliver the role very well.
I read that somewhere.
Which is interesting. I don't know if he failed to deliver it well. He did a fine job. It just felt like Tom Baker doing Sherlock Holmes. I was not absolutely convinced that it was just Sherlock Holmes to me.
I had forgotten this until I watched this and realized how familiar the story was to me. I actually read Hounds of the Baskervilles in high school as one of my English reading assignments. And I think maybe I have forgotten that because I have read bits and pieces of Sherlock Holmes over the years, and I thought Hounds was one of those ones that was just one of those cases where I knew enough of the story from the little things that I've read about it. But it actually, as the story kept playing out, I kept going, oh, I know what happens next. Oh, I know what happens next. And it was really interesting to see. Now, again, it's been 30 years since I've read it, but it was really interesting to see how much I felt the story stayed very true to Doyle's portrayal and writing and the story itself, and how very similar it was, and how very faithful it was to the original source material. I think the only thing that I felt that they left out was there was a lot more drug reference and usage in the book, but Moffat and Gatiss actually focused on that for the new adaptation. I can't say anything bad about it because I didn't see as much Fourth Doctor, and I can see what you're saying about later Fourth Doctor. Yeah. Now putting that in my mind, I can kind of equate that. But I thought Baker was, to me, Tom Baker was just really made for this role, and maybe it's because what you're saying is that the characters are cut from the same cloth, so he embellished the Doctor so well that it's a natural that he would embellish Sherlock Holmes just as successfully. And I think that he knocked it out of the ballpark. I think the thing that's most odd, and I remembered when we got to this point, is that Tom Baker's not in the third episode hardly at all. He shows up at the end.
He's only in the second episode a little bit.
Yeah.
At the beginning. Yeah.
Right.
And then he kind of drops out
a little bit at the end.
And my initial thought was, oh, he's not going to be there for any of this.
My first thought was, oh, he's on holiday.
But okay, well, Watson will be entertaining at least. And so
I liked the guy who played Watson.
He did a really good job.
Yeah, he did a good job, and they threw him some curveballs, and then that kind of all seemed to get resolved by the end of the second episode. So then the third episode starts, and there's still no Sherlock. There's still no Tom Baker, and I'm kind of going, okay, well, you're going to come back. And for me, I don't know about you guys, but I think as good as the story is, and as entertaining as the guy who played Watson was, it did start to flag a little bit for me about the midway through the third part. And it's not until he reveals himself to be the stranger on the moor. That is, oh, here he is, and he's back. And he's apparently been there the whole time, even though we didn't know it.
Right.
But it didn't quite make up for the fact that he wasn't actually there.
See, and it wasn't until I was partway through episode 3 that I realized, oh wait, Tom hasn't been on screen for a while.
Well, then
Really?
that says some good things for the story.
I thought the story, the pacing of it clipped right along really fast.
It did, yeah.
Like the first episode was probably the slowest for me.
Well, it is all done in Holmes's house, in his townhome. The whole thing, with the exception of them all leaving at the end and going to the Baskervilles, what was the name of the hall? Baskerville Hall.
Well, they leave to go to the hotel first, but then
they do go to the hotel.
Right, that's right. They do go to the hotel, but when they all leave at the end is the first time they're out. And we see the cutaway Scooby-Doo flashback, as like Scooby-Doo-ish. It was just what had happened that led to Mortimer. Was that the doctor?
Dr. Mortimer.
Yeah, Mortimer to seek out Holmes' help, but that's outside of the. But really, other than that, the majority of that is all one set.
Yeah, but there was that chase with the taxi.
That's what I'm saying. At the end, that's the at the end.
I thought that was before.
When the guy, when the Stapleton, we find out later, actually tried to run over Holmes.
Yeah, that was
the
beginning of part 2.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think.
I thought that was in part 1.
Maybe it was.
I thought it was at the end of part 1, and they kind of picked up there at the beginning of part 2.
Oh yeah, they ride off. Yeah, you're right. They get in the carriage. Right. All right, we got to get to him, and then they take off, and that's where part 1 ends.
Right. Oh, okay.
Because I remember going, oh, a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we. And in true Doctor Who fashion, we resolve it almost immediately in the second part. Even the musical cues, I thought, were very.
There were some parts of it that felt very.
If
musically, Doctor
if
Who.
you'd have had a horn on the moor going, I'd been like,
I wonder
I'm
how
home.
much of that though comes from the type of television storytelling of the day, and not necessarily being influential
the fact
from
that it's 80s
one or the other.
BBC television.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I wonder if maybe how much of that
also.
is. Quite surprised when Caroline Johns shows up.
It
was one of those. For just a moment, I went, "Oh, I should know who this is," and at about the same time that I thought, "Oh, I should know who this." Oh, I do know who this is.
Didn't recognize her at all.
Oh, is that right?
Until went back at the end and went, who? Oh. I feel sheepish. Yeah.
And Terrence Dix is a script editor, and then of course Barry Letts. Of course, I believe the classic series anthology pieces that they were doing at the time is what Terrence and Barry both left Doctor Who to go do. Yeah. Not at the same time, but each landed there shortly after their time on Doctor Who. So.
Yeah, I don't mean to besmirch the production by saying, "Oh, it was just like an episode of Doctor Who." I think there are obviously different factors
but there's a lot of familiarity.
Why that is. I mean, obviously we've got some of the same production staff involved in the making of it. We've got a doctor starring in it, and it is, as you pointed out, probably BBC during the 80s. This was kind of what they were doing, is just churning this kind of stuff out. But it just, even structurally being 4 parts, kind of, it very much to me felt like it. Now, what's interesting is, I mean, obviously we've got a very classic story that we're doing, which, well, kind of goes back to the whole, because the Gothic Hinchcliffe era of Doctor Who was, hey, let's go do Frankenstein, let's go do this, so let's go do Sherlock Holmes. Again, it just kind of fits in there.
I think if it weren't for Talons, it probably wouldn't feel as much like Doctor Who.
You think?
Because Talons was kind of the Doctor Who doing Sherlock blatantly. It helps lend to that.
Because I know Tom's done Sherlock on stage. He's played Sherlock Holmes on stage, and that's probably where he's referring to that he feels like he did a better job there than he did here.
Yeah.
But comparing this to Talons and his performance, they're pretty
not the performance, just this type of story we're getting, because the Talon's trappings is so heavy Sherlock Holmes. I think that's what helps make this feel more like Doctor Who. And to me, I don't know about you guys, but the guy who played Watson, I had to go look him up to make sure he wasn't whichever is Django or Lightfoot, because he looked just like him.
He looks very similar. Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm blurred in my mind which one's which.
Well, the late Victorian hairstyles and
The
dress and
mustache and-
manner,
yeah.
it's very, very much in the same vein.
So, what do we think about? Obviously, you're impressed with Tom's range. That I thought he nailed this, and I would still like to see him in other things, doing other roles.
Yeah, me too. This is the one.
I tried
role,
to get you to put Dungeons and Dragons on the schedule, but
unlike the other Beyond the Doctors we've had, this is the one where I didn't feel like I saw as much range as the other ones.
Yeah,
this is more closer to what I expected to see from Tom.
you should. We hemmed and hawed about it and almost put Golden Voyage. Is it Golden? Golden Voyage of Sinbad on here in its stead, but didn't want to do Sinbad titles. But he plays the villain in Golden Voyage. He's an evil magician, and yes, I think that kind of shows his range.
I thought about trying to pick it up from the library, but
if you get the chance, I mean, first of all, it's a
so I didn't
Sinbad
have it.
movie, so it's fun, so it's definitely worth watching. But secondly, just for Tom Baker kind of chewing scenery, I think it's fun because it's the Doctor bent, so it's a really interesting take. He's also, I remember him in an episode of Remington Steele playing a bad guy. And a fairly stereotypical 80s television bad guy. But, again, different. And then, as Glenn likes to point out, yes, rather unfortunately, he was in that abomination of film that was Dungeons & Dragons for all of 32 seconds.
if that, yeah.
As a elf king.
Yep.
And there are certain friends of mine who very, very large Tolkien fans and kind of rail against the idea of Hugo Weaving playing Elrond because he's not pretty enough to be an elf. Let me tell you, friends, Tom Baker playing an elf king, not even in the same ballpark. Hugo Weaving is statuesque compared to Tom Baker playing an elf. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. He's just,
I find myself wanting to review the story itself, but
we can't. I mean, we certainly have.
It's difficult. Yeah. Well, I mean, just the story itself, but it's certainly difficult for me, and I think maybe because I'm familiar enough with this story and I think most people are. I think for the most part, even if you haven't read any Sherlock Holmes, this is the one that I think everybody knows. This is the story that everybody is most familiar with, and so it's one of those things that I would feel cheap to point out the flaws with a Sherlock Holmes story, especially especially when you compare it to what they're doing with the series with
the current series.
Yeah, Cumberbatch and Freeman. The things aren't so obvious, and they're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be just enamored by the fact that Holmes has picked up on something that nobody else did, and there are little nods of that in this. But it's not as concealed, and it's like the guy in the painting that looks like Stapleton. And you go, am I saying the right name right? Is it Stapleton?
Yeah, I think that's
right. Who looks like Stapleton, and you're like, it didn't take Holmes to figure that one out. But it's little things like that I couldn't nitpick. But knowing when it was written and what it's about, and being familiar enough with Sherlock Holmes that I almost said Dr. Holmes. Sherlock Holmes, it's like can't really pick apart the story because it's classic literature. It's done really well in this venue, and it's just kind of there.
Well, as Christy said, it's a period piece, which is something that
BBC does very well. Yeah.
Does well, and it's got enough. I mean, the ping ponging back and forth where Watson in the second and third episodes thinks he's got everything figured out, and then they throw him another curveball, and then they wrap that up, and there's a part of me going, it's a little too pat.
It makes it feel like filler. Is what it does, and it's not. It's actually part of the pacing of the story. It's part of the pacing of the original story. It's not like they said, well, we need to stretch this out to 4 episodes as opposed to 3. That's part of the story. And so it was Doyle doing misdirection is what it was. It was to take the reader off the trail and bring them back in a unique and original way. And unfortunately, that doesn't translate to 1980s. That doesn't translate to present day when we're looking back at 1980s drama,
Right.
So and that's the difficulty of it, is watching it now 30 years removed and going, they just don't do this kind of thing anymore. And so that's.
One of the things I really enjoyed was when Holmes came back, and it's kind of them comparing notes in that hut.
Yep.
That was where I kind of finally got the Sherlock Watson chemistry that was probably missing in episode 1 that I've come to like so much that we've used later down the road.
Agreed.
That's probably the highlight of the story for me.
I would agree with that. And he showed up in the deerstalker hat, so that was...
You have to have that. Not just
he had to cover up that hair.
Perfectly combed and straightened.
Short combed hair. It wasn't. It's not
straightened was more.
All curls and teeth, or all teeth and curls.
Teeth and curls. Here's one for you. Completely not off topic, but so I was downtown today. Went and joined Mel for lunch, and I'm sitting at a stoplight in downtown Topeka, and this older gentleman, white hair, walks across the street in front of me. And I'm looking at this guy, and he's tall, and he's wearing a blue shirt, he's wearing tan slacks, and he's got a weird kind of tan overcoat. He's got white curly hair. And he just, as he walked, he just did this thing where he just rubbed his nose with his finger. And I went, I don't know if it was just on my brain, having just come off of this. This guy was the spitting image of Tom Baker from the end of the 50th.
Wow.
A spitting image.
Unless he came here on a boat. We know that he didn't fly over here.
He has a TARDIS.
Yeah. The curator. Anything else?
I feel kind of bad that I feel like maybe we're doing this one a little bit of a disservice based on what we've talked about on some of the other ones. But it's Sherlock Holmes.
There's quite as much to talk about.
Yeah, I mean it's a piece of classic literature. So if you haven't read it, which I'm kind of with Glenn. I think I've read this one, but again, I read it as a kid or I read it in high school, and I don't remember most of that. I don't remember anything from week to week, so why would I remember that? If you haven't read it, you should.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, you should, whether you see this version or the Gatiss Moffat version or the Basil Rathbone version.
Should we give the Fast and Furious disclaimer that if you read the Holmes stories in order, this was actually out of order? Because this one, it was actually written a few years after Holmes had already killed off, or Doyle had already killed off Sherlock Holmes. Spoilers in the novels. And then wrote this one, which actually takes place a few years prior to what was the something death? A fateful death? No, what's the? I can't remember the name of the what was going to be the last Sherlock Holmes story. This was actually written after that, but takes place before that because years before Doyle had killed off Sherlock Holmes, and of course later because this particular story brought a resurgence in the popularity of Sherlock Holmes, he then turned around and wrote a story after that, as we know from the new series, is divulged that Holmes actually faked his death. So, So if you're gonna read them, realize that this one is actually out of order with the rest of the Holmes novels or stories, I should say. Not all of them were novels.
There was a line early. I knew it was out of place, but there was a line in the in part one. Was it part one? No, it was in part two when they've been trailing the cabbie and they bring him in and he says, who is this guy? He says, he said his name was Sherlock Holmes. And Holmes gets this look and he says, we're dealing with a mind that matches my own. And I thought to myself, okay, I remember this one being written out of order, but is this supposed to be set like he's foreshadowing the eventual coming of Moriarty?
Yeah.
Is that what that was
I
a
don't know.
callback to?
I don't know
do you
if
remember?
it was. In fact, I can't remember in order how those went. And so when I heard that line, my first thought was, is that Moriarty that he's talking about? But it was, they didn't ever revisited that again, so I didn't know.
I wonder if that was just a fun little that
could have been
was dropped in there, knowing that, especially if this was going to be part one of a franchise.
Well, and I don't know if when they were doing the classics, if they do any more I almost said Dr. Holmes again, Sherlock Holmes stories. Did they do any more dramatizations of Sherlock Holmes stories?
I'm sure somewhere in the BBC archives is every single Sherlock Holmes story ever. This is the only one that I'm aware of that Tom Baker was in. But
this is certainly the most popular of the books. I think still is today,
yeah.
And that certainly would have been true at the time. So that would be why they definitely did this one. So. All right, Shaun, what we got coming up on schedule?
Well, coming up on the schedule this week for Friday Night Who on the 24th of April, we will finish Genesis of the Daleks with parts 4, 5, and 6, also with Tom Baker. And then in our next week's show, we will be discussing Are the Daleks Better Off Without Davros? Megalomaniac that he is. The following week, we will start May with Mysterious Planet with Colin Baker. No, we're not doing the trial. We're not doing the whole trial all the time. We're just, Mysterious Planet. Glenn likes that one, so we'll do that one.
Aren't we doing something else this next week? Or is it the following week that we're reviewing Davros?
And then, because we've already reviewed the Mysterious Planet.
Oh, that's okay. I'm a week ahead of myself.
Our follow-up episode is Davros better off without the Daleks? Which is the flip side of the question, and we will be reviewing Big Finish Audio mainline number 48, Davros.
Maybe I ought to slow down on listening to that. Yeah. I started that this week thinking, that's going to be the next one.
You've got another week still coming up. So, and then the following week after that is Infinite Quest for Friday Night Who, and then I hope you've been catching up on your Titan comic book reading, because we are going to catch up. And go. Hopefully, it'll be out by then. I think I've got this planned out right. That it will. We'll go all the way up to issue 12. So I think we read the first 5,
6.
Did we do 6?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll do 7 through 12 then. Of
6
those, and of the 10th and the 11th Doctor comics, and catch up on the 12th Doctor or wherever he's at in the line because he started at a different time. And
I think he was 2 behind.
I think he's two months behind. And then the 9th Doctor should have debuted by then, because I think the first issue of that came out.
It's already out.
Keith is our liaison for that, so I'm just counting on him to provide me with the materials I need. I haven't looked in his Dropbox for a while.
Currently, the 11th Doctor's up to number 11, as of this recording. 10th Doctor's up to number 9. They got off track and delayed some 10th Doctor issues, and those haven't come out yet.
I read a month ago why that happened, and now I can't recall what it was.
And the 12th Doctor is up to number 7.
All right.
So we're going to play catch up and
Yep.
and read some comic books that week. So
cool. All right. Well, you can find us in our usual spots. Just go to www.travelingtovortex.com to find all of those locations. And please support us on Patreon, because
please support us on
your
Patreon.
money. We've kind of slowed down. We haven't had any Patreon supporters recently, but new Patreon supporters. But that money
we're still waiting for their gift baskets, which haven't been.
You haven't done that yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, now that you're nearly done with school, we can They can count on those soon.
Yeah, that's a fun story.
For another time. And but please, anything that you donate to the show does go right back into this show to support the program. So if you want this show to continue,
I really think you need.
Sound like a PBS.
I think you really need to go back and find one of the old school KTWU pledge drives that says, "If you enjoy programs like this, please support us because your funds go right back into creating more programming like this on KTWU."
All right, is that going to do it for this week?
KCPT or whoever you're.
If so, until next week, I'm Glenn.
You're just in a hurry to get out of here, aren't you?
Yep.
I'm going to be that anchor, man. I'm just going to drag that ocean floor and
Keith.
keep pulling us
Cheers.
down. And you think you're ending the show, but I got news for you. You can't cut me off. You can't push the button. I dare you.
'Cause it takes one to do the heavy brain work, one to do the more mundane work, one to say it's elementary, one to say amazing. You be Holmes and I'll be Watson, in high spots, in catacombs. Any place the cat gavots in, Watson trots with Holmes.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
I will search.
And I'll be Century. We'll be just amazing.
Lucky Holmes to have a Watson.
Thanks a lot, sincerely, Holmes. Poor old cat will soon feel small as Holmes.